the Almighty Pokémon Master. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 601 Battle Results. After the metal monsters were gone, the remaining battle was between Nidoking and Mantis. As the two strongest players in the team, their battle was worth watching. Nidoking and Mantis looked at each other and started fighting. In order to improve the fighting effect, Zhang Xingyun even applied to the administrator of the battlefield to change the venue. The Mantis were densely packed on the field, rushing towards Nidoking, which was very visually impactful. Nidoking straightened his body, and a wave spread out in all directions, and the Mantis on the field turned into nothingness one after another. Bang, the two punched each other, and Mantis took the opportunity to distance themselves, wandering around, looking for a suitable opportunity. But Nidoking moved, and under its control, the ground under Mantis' feet moved. At the first moment, Mantis moved, avoiding one after another, gliding in the air. When he looked up, several layered blades slashed at him. A series of earth walls rose up in front of Nidoking, blocking all of them. Swish, a beam of destructive death broke through the air and shot into Nidoking in the dust. Boom, whoosh, the dust on the field dissipated, and Nidoking was safe and sound. A green shield blocked the giant claw Mantis's destructive death beam. Puff, taking advantage of this opportunity, a dozen rocks broke out of the ground and wrapped the giant claw Mantis. A blazing flame sprayed out. Bang, after the giant claw Mantis broke free of the rocks that wrapped it, it was greeted by a jet of flame. Boom, a black mist rose from where the giant claw Mantis was. Nidoking slapped the ground with his tail, and sharp rocks covered with frost shot into the dust. After fixing his body, Nidoking's mouth was filled with stars. As soon as the giant clawed Mantis showed its head, Nidoking's destructive death ray shot over. Boom, the field shook slightly after this attack. After the attack, Nidoking took a fighting posture. The giant clawed Mantis would not be defeated so easily. As a companion, it knew this very well. As expected, Nidoking felt a sound of breaking air behind him, and he knew it. Bang, 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 Nidoking and the giant clawed Mantis fought in close combat. The giant clawed Mantis was fast, but its defense ability was low, while Nidoking was slow, but its defense ability was high. Both sides had their own advantages, and the outcome was unpredictable. It was destined to be a long-lasting battle. Under the condition that both sides did not make mistakes, it would be difficult to decide the winner within half an hour. There were also many people watching on the battlefield, where Zhang Xingyun was, and their faces were shocked. While they were advancing their elves to the Quasi-King level, others had already broken through to the King level, and there were more than one. Zhang Xingyun ignored them, and focused on the two giant mantises to see if he could find out their shortcomings, so that he could use them in the next training. He could also summarize the combat experience of the two. Half an hour later, the battle between the giant mantis and Nidoking was still in a stalemate. The giant mantis could not hit, and Nidoking had strong defense and could not be hurt. After Zhang Xingyun called a halt, he looked at it and then decided that the two would be tied. He then repeated the battle situation of the two and summarized the experience. "Big brother, can you teach me?" Seeing that Zhang Xingyun stopped, several people came forward and asked for some advice. "It's not about teaching, but it's okay to communicate," Zhang Xingyun said with a smile, and did not refuse the other party's request. "Great big brother, I can challenge your Blastoise." "Okay. Wow, then I want to challenge the electric monster." "Okay." Zhang Xingyun agreed to everything. It is also good to let Electabuzz fight with Pokémons raised by other trainers. Boom, boom, boom. After a few rounds, Electabuzz easily defeated a Pokémon of the late Quasi-King level on the opposite side. Bang, bang, bang. After a few more moves, he defeated another one. Many people watching on the field surrounded him and challenged him. Some even challenged Nidoking, and Zhang Xingyun accepted it. Electabuzz won one battle after another. In a stalemate, it was a fight with the teammate. To deal with these challenges on the field, Electabuzz went crazy. Hey boo, Electabuzz was very proud, because this victory was already its 10th victory. The Pokémons who challenged it, the mid-Quasi-King level and below, Electabuzz could only punch one by one, and at most one more punch. Compared with his teammates, these Pokémons are really weak. In the evening, when he returned to the breeding house, Electabuzz was still bragging about his great achievements. Today, it won the internal war and the external war. Now, it feels very refreshed. Don't be proud, Electric Beast. If it weren't for the 30-minute limit, the outcome of your battle with Tyrannosaurus would be unpredictable. Seeing Electric Beast's smug look, Zhang Xingyun couldn't help but hit him. You are the second brother in the team, you still have to work hard. Your performance today can only be said to be average. Hey boo. After hearing what he said, Electric Beast felt that today's battle was just so-so. Work hard. If you work harder, you may be promoted to the king at the end of this month. Come on. Hey boo. After staying in the breeding house for a while, Zhang Xingyun left here and returned to the dormitory. The big devil is here. As soon as he entered the door, Zhang Xingyun heard Lan Yuchen say this. What big devil? Are you talking about me? Otherwise, it could be me. You were killing people non-stop in the battlefield during the day. There is a video of your battle on the school forum now. Lan Yuchen picked up his phone and put it out, saying TSK a few times. Second brother, such a cute girl, you don't know how to be humble, and you beat her to tears. TSK. Lan Yuchen said with a smile. Oh. Zhang Xingyun remembered that during the day, there was indeed a cute girl who challenged him. During the battle, she might have been scared by the fierce performance of the electric shock monster, so she cried, which made him a little embarrassed. TSK, a heartless man. Hey, second brother, is she asking you for WeChat? Zhang took out his phone and said with a wink. The interface showed a sweet looking and slender girl with a slightly red face, holding the phone and talking to him. Yeah, but I rejected her. What a pity. This girl is quite pretty. I've seen her profile. She's the most beautiful girl in the department. Oh, Leo C. She already has a girlfriend, and she's a school beauty. What a pity. Hahaha, that's right. Chapter 602 High Intensity Battle. One day outside, Zhang Xingyun felt a little tired. After washing up, he sat on the sofa and chatted with his 3 roommates. The content of the chat was very wide. As they chatted, they talked about the gym. The ghost gym in Chang'an is not simple. Challenging the gym is not only for the elves, but also for the trainers. What are you afraid of? We are all capable people. The general ghost type elves are not as good as us. That's true, but what if the elves we face are not ordinary ghost elves? Well, if you say so, it seems to make sense. Hey, boss, are you going to challenge the gym in Chang'an next? Zhang Xingyun asked, after listening to the two of them talking about this. I have this plan. Next, I plan to travel around China, first to Jiangdu, then Chang'an, Mobi, Xinjiang, Xianan, and Yangcheng. Add the 2 I have, and there will be exactly 8. Lan Yuchen replied and talked about his plan. That's pretty good. What about you? What do you think of your gym plan? I haven't decided yet. Let's see. Zhang Xingyun said truthfully. Maybe he will also travel around China, or maybe not. Hahaha, that's right. We are different. You are the only one in the whole dormitory who has a partner. Haha. Zhang on the side joked. Speaking of this, you can also get out of being single. Zhang Xingyun smiled a few times and said immediately. Let's talk about it. My dream is the stars and the sea. I don't want to be bound so early. Zhang shook his head and played with his mobile phone. Zhang Xingyun didn't say anything. After chatting for a while, the 4 of them dispersed and went back to their rooms. In the room, Zhang Xingyun's body was filled with dense energy. He digested the pure energy feedback from the breakthroughs of Charizard and others, and his strength was slowly improving. The next morning, Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes, got up and washed, and came to the school's breeding house early. He brought the electric monsters to the training room. After several training sessions, the doorbell of the training room rang. It was Nangang Yeo, standing outside with a lunchbox. After Zhang Xingyun opened the door and let her in, he ate the breakfast she brought, while chatting with her. Jaoa, let's postpone the matter of the Imperial Capital Gym for a few days. I plan to wait until Nidoking and Mantis have the strength of the late Heavenly King before going to the Imperial Capital. Zhang Xingyun said slowly. When Mantis and Nidoking broke through the Heavenly King, they went through his spirit possession technique and then super evolved, and their strength had reached the peak of the middle Heavenly King. Recently, Zhang Xingyun discovered that Nidoking and the others also had signs of breakthrough. Okay, but you don't have to rush. There is still some time before the competition, so don't rush. Nangang Yeo said gently, opening the lunchbox and adding some more to him. I have a feeling that it will be reached in a week at most. I will take Nidoking and the others out later. The training room cannot withstand the activities of the king level, so it can only warm up. Okay, how about you take this Pokeball with you, so I can feel more at ease. As he said that, Nangang Yeo took out a Pokeball and handed it over. No need, Modo is not Changning, and he doesn't have that much energy. You still take it, just in case. Nangang Yeo smiled and insisted that he take it. After thinking for a while, Zhang Xingyun did not refuse and took the Pokeball. Thank you, Joa. Zhang Xingyun hugged her involuntarily and was very touched. No need, this way I will feel more at ease. After chatting for a while, Zhang Xingyun also started today's work. First, as usual, he sent energy to Regirock's life core to see the progress. The life fluctuations were stronger than the day before. You have to hurry up, Zhang Xingyun whispered to the life core. He still had high expectations for the legendary beast. A faint light flickered on the life core, as if responding to him. Zhang Xingyun came to the giant claw mantis and arranged the training tasks and took Nidoking and the other 4 with him. Joa, I'll leave this to you. Okay, be careful. Yes. After saying goodbye, Zhang Xingyun left the Magic City University and wandered around the Magic City for a few rounds. When he came to the outskirts of the city, he dressed up and made himself look unrecognizable. This was also for the sake of caution. In fact, there are many people who are like this, and it is also to prevent some things. After all, in the wild, it is also a lawless place. There is no order, and only strength is relied on. Zhang Xingyun quickly came to the inner circle and let the giant claw mantis and other elves go on stage separately. This time, the king's target is not only the elves who are alone, but also the elves with the king, which is also their challenge target. In order to increase the difficulty, Zhang Xingyun will decide according to the situation. Sometimes he will let one of them go on stage, and sometimes he will let 2 of them go on stage. The inner circle is rich in resources and far away from human beings. Many powerful elf tribes have been born, so there is no need to worry about not finding them. It's just that it's a bit difficult to find the lone elves. At noon, Zhang Xingyun stopped fighting and came to a secret place to rest. The giant mantises were also eating in a hurry. Among the food for today, there was some flesh and blood of the killed Pokémon. When Nidoking saw it, he ate it directly, and his mouth was full of blood. They just ate less of these things on a normal basis, not that they didn't eat them. Pokémon eating Pokémon is also a normal thing in the wild. Eating raw flesh and blood can also stimulate their ferocity, so it's okay to eat it occasionally. Let's go, we've eaten, and we've rested for a while. The injuries have almost recovered. Let's continue in the afternoon. By the way, the intensity of the battle has been like this for a while. Nidowu hasn't been Nidoking, and the others roared very imposingly. Very good, morale is good, let's go. Then, there were several places in the forest where roars continued, and roars resounded through the sky. Single soldier battles, group battles, and even Zhang Xingyun, as a trainer, personally took part in the battles and rushed all afternoon. It's still a little short. In the evening, Zhang Xingyun was driving on the road, thinking about the battle during the day. In the battle, it was not a one-sided crushing, and there would be a hard fight. At the critical moment, Nidoking's aura fluctuated slightly, but it was not enough to reach the first level of the late Heavenly King. After packing up her things and herself, Zhang Xingyun came to the training room. She also spent the day in training. After the training, the two had a pleasant dinner. Zhang Xingyun dragged his tired body, opened the door of the dormitory, and sat on the soft sofa in the dormitory. After a whole day of high-intensity fighting, he also felt tired. He was the only one in the dormitory, and his 3 roommates had not returned yet. Zhang Xingyun took out his mobile phone and looked at it to relax. Chapter 603, The Combat Power of the Late Heavenly King. After playing with his phone for a while, the door of the dormitory opened with a click, and Pei Chenjin walked in and said hello. Half an hour later, Lan Yuchen and the other person also walked in, talking and laughing. I'm leaving the day after tomorrow, and I'm going to go on a tour of China. Very good. Zhang Xingyun replied. Then Xingyun, do you want to come with me? No, you guys can go, I'll go later. Zhang Xingyun refused the invitation, and had other plans. Oh, okay, then see you at the national competition. Okay, see you at the competition. Lan Yuchen asked Pei Chenjin again, and he also refused, also with other plans. Okay, then it's just me and Lao Si, and Lao Jian and the others. Lan Yuchen spread his hands and said, be careful on the road, pay attention to safety. Zhang Xingyun instructed. Okay. The next day, Zhang Xingyun, like yesterday, took Nidoking and the other 4 to the Wild 4 training. Mainly training Nidoking and Giant Claw Mantis. After many small pimple trainings, they have made obvious progress. On the 3rd day, the 4th day, and the 5th day. On the 5th day, Nidoking lived up to expectations, and his combat power reached the late heaven leaking stage under the high intensity battle. Although this late heaven leaking stage is a bit watery and is obtained through amplification, it should not be underestimated. Have you noticed that you have been ahead of me since you went to college? In the wild, under a big tree not far from the river, Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yao sat opposite each other, with a grill built in the middle, and the two were grilling. Madame Huaji, Gardevoir and the others were all busy around. Really? No. Zhang Xingyun scratched his head and said with a smile. Well, just like your Nidoking, broke through before my Gardevoir, now your Nidoking's combat power has also broken through to the late heaven leaking stage, and my Gardevoir is only at the peak level of the middle stage now. Nangang Yao retorted. It seems so. So, I have to work hard too. I can't slack off. I was far ahead of you at the beginning, but now you have overtaken me. No, I have to fight. I have to work hard. I have to overtake you. Nangang Yao was full of fighting spirit, cheering herself up. Okay, I'll wait for you. Zhang Xingyun said dotingly. In the past 2 days, Nangang Yao also came out and fought high intensity battles, and his strength was slowly improving. After he broke through the heaven leaking, his supernatural powers were also enhanced, and his healing ability was even stronger than that of Madame Huaji. In addition, Madame Huaji also needed medicines and other factors. Therefore, under high intensity battles, logistics can also keep up. This is also the confidence of the two of them to fight at high intensity. If the logistics can't keep up, Zhang Xingyun would not be able to fight at such a high intensity. In the wild, treatment, medicine, and food are all very important, and he happens to have all these important factors. Let's spend the night here tonight, and don't go back to the magic city. It's a bit troublesome to go back and forth. Zhang Xingyun said to Nangang Yao, after eating all the food in his hand. Okay, then I won't go back. Nangang Yao chuckled and handed over a large piece of barbecue. Zhang Xingyun took it, and started eating again. Sizzle. Nangang Yao picked up the vegetables, and continued to grill them. Under the roasting of the charcoal, they sizzled and emitted wisps of white smoke. When they finished eating, it was already dark, and Zhang Xingyun and the other person shuttled through the forest. Woo roar. The elves' roars were faintly heard around them, and a pair of eyes were looming, which was very creepy in this dark environment. But this did not affect the two of them. They walked on flat ground in the complex environment. They did not rest that night, and took the initiative to attack. The elves at night were more bloodthirsty and violent, and their combat effectiveness was stronger, which was exactly what he wanted. If they were not strong enough, they would naturally find a good place to hide, for fear of being found by these hunters and dying in the dark night. But they did not need to. Boom roar sounded, and a flame shot up into the sky, and there were also many screams of elves. It was the giant mantis that took action. The movement also attracted many hunters in the dark night. Swish, here they come. Zhang Xingyun raised his mouth and said to a certain direction. Woo, a Charizard flapped its wings and flew away. Boom boom boom. It was a team of fork bats. After Charizard's attack, many fork bats lost consciousness and fell to the ground. Nidoking also opened fire. Spread out like an umbrella. Pay attention to the distance. Zhang Xingyun issued instructions, which was also to train their team battle ability. Squeak Roar or Lie the Night Elves became chaotic because of the participation of Nidoking and his friends. There were constant explosions and chaos on the field. It was not until midnight that the movement gradually subsided. Zhang Xingyun and the others came to a newly excavated cave to rest. Both of them were capable people, so it was not a problem to cover up their breath and whereabouts. This night passed peacefully. On the second day, after Zhang Xingyun and his companions finished breakfast, they started another intense battle. Finally, in the evening, the giant claw mantis broke through in the battle and also broke through to the level of the late Heavenly King. Roar the giant claw mantis was fighting against 3 rottenwood monsters, all of which were elves in the middle stage of the Heavenly King, and one of them was at the peak level of the middle stage of the Heavenly King. The giant claw mantis was fighting 1 against 3, and it was during the battle that it broke through. Hassan feeling the majestic energy in its body, the giant claw mantis became more powerful, turned from defense to offense, and faced the 3 rottenwood monsters. Not far behind it, Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yao stood on the tree and watched this scene. Boom 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 roar roar roar. Hassan the giant claw mantis shuttled between the 3, frequently raising its fists to bombard. On the field, skills such as shadow balls, evil waves, ghost claws, alloy claws, and destructive death rays were flying everywhere. The strongest rottenwood demon fell to the ground after receiving the destruction and death of the giant claw mantis. Finally, after a fierce battle, the giant claw mantis successfully defeated the 3 rottenwood demons. Very good, giant claw mantis, you have also broken through. Zhang Xingyun teleported and came behind the giant claw mantis, clapping his hands. Hassan the giant claw mantis was very happy to have a breakthrough. The high intensity battles for many days were not in vain. A green energy descended on it, nourishing its body and recovering its injuries. Hassan bathed in the green light. The giant claw mantis shouted comfortably. Looking at the giant claw mantis, Zhang Xingyun's sense of urgency was reduced. It's the late stage of the King of Heaven. It should have the power to protect itself. Zhang Xingyun looked into the distance and muttered. Chapter 604 The Chaotic Past. Since Nidoking and the others broke through the first level of the Heavenly King, the amplification effect he can provide has become much weaker. For example, when he casts the spirit attachment technique at the ordinary, elite or quasi-Heavenly King level, after being amplified by the spirit attachment technique, he can improve 1 or 2 small realms, but when it comes to the Heavenly King, the amplification effect is not that great. As for the amplification brought by super evolution, Zhang Xingyun feels that this is related to the degree of bondage, and the performance of the elves is also different. For example, Nidoking and Charizard have a stronger degree of bondage, so in this regard, they have received more amplification. Like now, Charizard, who has just entered the first level of the Heavenly King, has increased its strength to the peak of the middle stage of the Heavenly King after super evolution. But the realm of the late Heavenly King is like a bottleneck. Even if the spirit attachment technique is used for amplification, Charizard has not broken through the late Heavenly King. It only increases Charizard's slightly unstable strength, but has not yet broken through the late Heavenly King. Is it a problem of bondage? How should I use this power? On the way back, on the back of the Tyrannosaurus, Zhang Xingyun thought to himself. He can super evolve with the elves, which means that the bond is not shallow, but it is hard to say to what extent. This kind of power is the power of the mind, which cannot be read by data bars, and cannot be quantified. Forget about thinking so much. As long as you treat the elves sincerely, there will be rewards. If you keep thinking about it, there will be a response. After arriving in the Magic City, the two came to Wang Zuina's place and processed the harvest of these days together. Then they purchased a large number of resources for future use. Now that he has reached the level of the king, he earns a lot and spends a lot. Like ordinary king trainers, they can harvest hundreds of millions a day, but in order to stabilize the strength of the elves, they must spend 1/3 of the harvest. If they want to improve the strength of the elves, they will probably spend 2/3 on the elves. This is all under smooth conditions. If you encounter an accident in the wild, or encounter an invincible elf, or encounter an attack by some yellow sparrows, the loss will be great. You may lose your life and be buried in the wild. The trainer industry is a high income, high cost and high risk profession, and therefore, it has a unique charm. However, most trainers who have reached the level of the king will choose to join the relevant departments and enjoy a more stable life. The key is that those who can successfully join the king level are mostly powerful and have a high social status, and they don't have to risk their lives every day and go to the wild to take risks. When their offspring grow up, their starting point is naturally higher than theirs. With their efforts, they may go further than them. In this way, a family will be established after several generations. This is also the portrayal of most families in China. Under normal circumstances, people who are taken care of by their elders are much stronger than ordinary poor children. They are not only stronger in elves, but also in knowledge, experience, etc. Now that things are done, let's find a day to go to the imperial capital and get the badge. On the way back to school, Zhang Xingyun suggested. The breakthroughs of the giant claw mantis and Nidoking eased his sense of urgency a lot. Okay, it's alright. Nangang Yeo nodded and said, no objection. I checked the appointment situation. We can make an appointment the day after tomorrow. Let's make an appointment then. The day after tomorrow? Isn't it a bit urgent? You've been very busy recently. I guess you're very tired. Why don't you take a break for a day or two and make an appointment for the gym battle a few days later? Then let's make an appointment for 5 days later. Zhang Xingyun thought about the high intensity battles in the past few days and also needed to take a break, combining work and rest to relax in moderation. Yeah. The two did not go back to school, but came to the villa that Zhang Xingyun had purchased in the Magic City earlier. You have worked hard these days. After releasing the elves and comforting them with a few words, Zhang Xingyun went to the washroom to wash. The villa is very large and is also equipped with an elf training ground. Nidoking and the others, plus Nangang Yeo and her elves, don't seem crowded. Buzz in the villa, Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yeo surrounded the life core of Rajarok, which was absorbing energy. It's a little bigger. After measuring it once, Zhang Xingyun said happily, it's just that its consciousness grows slowly. When its consciousness is fully born, it will be fully revived. It's not easy. Otherwise, do you think it's so easy to get a divine beast? Nangang Yeo chuckled. Joa, can you ask about the situation of Emperor Yan? Zhang Xingyun asked expectantly. He had heard from Nangang Yan that the Nangang family had a divine beast, Emperor Yan, and the current divine beast trainer was Nangang Yeo's father. Sure, it's not a secret anymore. In the second year after the elves came, my great-grandfather met Yandy in a secret realm. After several twists and turns, my great-grandfather conquered Yandy and became Yandy's first trainer. At that time, society was very chaotic. Many evil organizations and ambitious people took the opportunity to disrupt social order. At that time, my great-grandfather cooperated with Yandy to fight everywhere, cracked down on many evil organizations, and suppressed the rioting secret realm elves. 60 years ago, my great-grandfather died of injuries, and my grandfather took over and became the second trainer of the legendary beasts. However, in the War of Gods 30 years ago, my grandfather was seriously injured in that battle and died soon after. In this way, another 10 years later, my father was recognized by Yandy and became the third trainer of legendary beasts until today. Nangang Yeo said slowly with a look of reminiscence on her face. Zhang Xingyun held her hand and listened slowly. I've heard from some of my elders that the years when the elves came were very chaotic, even more chaotic than what was described in the books, and all kinds of monsters and demons emerged. After listening to this, Zhang Xingyun also had a new understanding of China in the 1980s and 1990s. At that time, various ambitious people took the opportunity to stir up trouble. For the sake of power, they provoked the beasts, they seized resources, and killed people at will. They spread rumors and caused trouble. Some even restored the monarchy and ascended the throne to become emperors, which was absurd to the extreme. At that time, the Long family and the Pei family were also the main forces to suppress the chaos. In that battle, many people also sacrificed their lives to have the status they have today. In the past, cities did not need to build walls because they did not need them, but now they can't. Of course, the arrival of the elves is not all bad. it has also brought many changes to our lives. For example, diseases that were previously untreatable are now minor illnesses that can be easily treated, and there are many other aspects. Indeed. Zhang Xingyun nodded in agreement. Chapter 605 Enthusiastic Long Yun. In the next few days, the two of them lived a leisurely life, going shopping and attending classes, just like ordinary college students. On this day, Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yao and others came to the airport of the Magic City and took a plane to the Imperial City. We are going to the Imperial City again, Zimeng said excitedly, pulling Long Zhao's arm. The two of them also wanted to go to the Imperial City, so they went together. Yeah, let's go and check in. Ahem. Zhao Rousey, are you ready? I'm going to board the plane. Go to hell. While chatting and laughing, the four of them boarded the plane and sat in their respective seats. Buzz after a while, the plane vibrated and slowly flew into the sky, flying towards the direction of the Imperial City. The buildings on the ground slowly shrank to the size of ants. Why didn't your roommate come with you this time? Zimeng, who was sitting behind Zhang Xingyun, asked while lying on the table. They set off a few days ago and traveled around China. They just challenged the gym and the imperial capital yesterday, Zhang Xingyun replied. Every day, they would chat in the dormitory group and knew their whereabouts. Oh, should we also travel around China? It's quite tempting, Zimeng said with interest after listening. By the way, do you have any plans? Will you return to the Magic City after the challenge? No, after challenging the imperial capital, Xingyun and I plan to go to Mobi, then Chang'an, and then Xinjiang. Meng, Zhao, do you want to come with us? Okay, I want to go, Zimeng said immediately. It's okay as long as you don't mind the two of us, Long Zhao said with a smile. How could that be? The few of them were in a good mood and kept chatting. Zhang Xingyun occasionally said a word or two beside them. I'm a little sleepy. I'll take a nap first. Call me when it's time to eat. More than an hour later, Zimeng yawned and said to the three of them, Okay. The few of them smiled and agreed. Then I'll leave it to you guys. I'll take a nap first. After saying that, he adjusted the table and squinted. Seeing this, the three of them stopped chatting. Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yao leaned against each other and looked at the scenery outside the window. The plane flew through the clouds, and the sunlight shone through the window on the two of them, covering them with a layer of golden warm gauze. Along the way, the plane flew steadily. During this period, several teams of elves came over and caused trouble for the plane, but they were all solved. At about 8 o'clock in the evening, the plane arrived above the imperial capital, flying above the lights of thousands of homes. The lights below were dim, and there was no end at a glance. The tall buildings were full of neon lights, showing the prosperity of the imperial capital. Dear sirs and madams, good evening. The time is now 8:12 p.m. We have arrived at the imperial capital airport and will land later. The plane's broadcast was playing, reminding everyone on the plane. Oh yeah, we are in the capital. We've been sitting here for a whole day. Yeah, we are in the capital. Let's pack up and get off the plane. Okay. 10 minutes later, the four people got off the plane and followed the crowd out of the airport. Haha, you're here. A familiar figure came up to them. It was Long Yun. After a few pleasantries, they got into a car together and merged into the traffic. I haven't seen you for a while. I feel that you're stronger. In the car, Long Yun, who was driving the car, turned his head and looked at Zhang Xingyun. Really? Are you so sure? Zhang Xingyun replied with a smile. I think my intuition is not wrong. Long Yun said affirmatively. A small breakthrough. Zhang Xingyun smiled. Let's learn from each other when we have time. Okay. The two chatted, and Nangang Yao and the other two were also talking and laughing in the back seat. The capital is often congested, and it was congested after driving for a while. At around 9 o'clock in the evening, a car carrying several people drove into a courtyard house that occupied a large area. The courtyard is elegantly decorated and spacious, with trees and flowers planted everywhere. There are also several bird cages hanging on the trees, and there are several colorful parrots in the bird cages. Parrots, this is rare. The last time I saw it in the zoo. After getting off the car, Meng Meng came over and observed the colorful parrot. Parrot, tell me Meng Meng is so beautiful. Really beautiful, really beautiful. Ha ha ha. Raising fish and birds, this life is not bad. Zhang Xingyun looked at the pool in the distance, in which there were several brightly colored fish swimming. How is it? Long Yun parked the car and walked over. Excellent. If this was in ancient times, only the royal family could afford to live in it. Well, this one belonged to a prince in ancient times. Later, after several renovations, it became what it is now. I think you are probably tired of living in your villas, so it's not bad to live in this one. Thoughtful. Several people came to the room, and the servants also brought the cooked food and presented it one by one. Assorted soup dishes, lotus bird's nest, it's a full course meal. We are in for a treat today. Meng Meng smiled and started eating. Come on, eat. Long Yun called, and Zhang Xingyun and the others also started eating. Are you here to challenge the gym this time? Long Yun asked during the meal. Yes, there are more than 2 months before the Pokémon contest, and there are still 6 badges to be obtained. How many have you collected? As for me, I have already collected them. I just came back from Xianan the day before yesterday. Long Yun replied with a smile. Then you are pretty fast. For us, this is not difficult. We will see you at the contest. I'm looking forward to the contest now. This contest will definitely be very interesting. I think so too. Zhang Xingyun replied. The two chatted while eating and talked about the recent situation. During the chat, Zhang Xingyun learned that his Charizard had also broken through to the king level, and 2 other Pokémon also had the king's combat power after super evolution. Nidoking should have broken through to the king level. Long Yun asked about Nidoking, who had left a great impression on him. He broke through a while ago. Really? Let's spar tomorrow. My Garchomp has also made progress recently. Since you're here, let's test it out. No problem. Your Tyrannosaurus has also broken through to the king level, right? Yes, it has. Hey, from your tone, there are other Pokémon that have broken through to the king level? You guessed it right. My Pidgeot and Charizard have also broken through to the king level. Damn, it's so fast. Long Yun was shocked. He only had 2 Pokémon that broke through to the king level, while he had 4 that broke through to the king level. It's not easy. Charizard's breakthrough is also related to the attack I encountered. How should I put it? I went to Yangcheng a while ago. Zhang Xingyun briefly recounted what happened a while ago. I see, but this is also a blessing in disguise. Chapter 606. Situation in the courtyard. Everyone chatted and ate until about 11 o'clock. After dinner, everyone went to the hall to drink tea to digest the food. Who is the gym trainer you made an appointment with? Long Yun mentioned this during the chat. Long Huabing, you should know him. I know him. He is a distant cousin of mine. I knew it. Zhang Xingyun smiled. The Dragon Gym and the Imperial Capital, and seeing that the last name was Long, he knew at a glance that it was from Long Yun's family. There are still many people in the Imperial Capital Long family. They can be seen in all aspects of society and have a wide influence. Everyone is so familiar with each other. Can you give me some water? Meng Meng on the side laughed. Ha ha ha, no need, it's not difficult. With your strength, Sister Meng Meng, it's easy. Meng Meng's words made the 4 people laugh. What if it happens? I'm the weakest among us, and only 2 of my elves have broken through to the Quasi-King level. Okay, the gym battle does not have to be decided. As long as you perform well, you can get the badge. Long Zhao said with a smile. After talking and laughing, it was already very late, and everyone dispersed. Zhang Xingyun was arranged to stay in a spacious room. As soon as he entered the door, there was a smell of sandalwood lingering in the room, which was very pleasant. Being in it made him feel peaceful. After cleaning up, Zhang Xingyun sat cross-legged on the bed and began to practice, with a little light flashing on his body. There was no talk all night, and soon it was the morning of the next day. When it was slightly bright, Zhang Xingyun got up, washed up, and came to a wide training ground on the side of the mansion. According to the introduction on the wall, this was originally a martial arts field. In ancient times, it was the place where the owner practiced martial arts. The place is quite large, and now it has been converted into a training ground. In the imperial capital in November, the temperature in the morning is still very low. After exercising for a while, Long Yun came. After greeting each other, they started training separately. After the sun rose to 3 o'clock, the two stopped. Here, Long Yun threw a bottle of drink over, and the two came under a dense tree. Seeing you training, why do you seem a little restrained? Long Yun asked. I'm afraid of damaging the place. Hey, don't be afraid, just build it. The venue here is big enough for champion level elves. Oh, I'm not polite then. You're welcome. Let's go and eat. The elves are taken care of. Okay. The two came to the restaurant, where a steaming hot breakfast was already on the table. Nangang Yeo and the other two hadn't come yet. The two started eating directly, and after a while, the three of them finally arrived. You two handsome guys, you're rolling inwards again. I heard the noise of your training early in the morning. While eating, Zimeng teased. Then do you want to roll inwards together? Zhang Xingyun replied with a smile. Forget it, I'm old, and I can't roll in with you young people. Zimeng said in an old-fashioned way, pretending to be very serious. If it weren't for the state of you eating, I would almost believe it. Long Yun said with a smile. Ha ha ha. The few people finished their breakfast, while chatting and laughing. The matches that several people had scheduled were all for tomorrow, so they were not in a hurry. After breakfast, Zhang Xingyun and Long Yun came to the training ground and started to spar with each other. After a sparring match, Long Yun was amazed again and again. They were completely suppressed, both in terms of quantity and quality. The other elves simply sparred, but their trump cards fought with all their might. His Garchomp was defeated after fighting with Nidoking for half an hour. This was when Zhang Xingyun did not use the amplification spell, but only performed alien evolution. Why do I feel that the gap between us is getting bigger and bigger? Last time, Garchomp was almost the same as Nidoking, and it was Nidoking in full condition. After the sparring match, Long Yun exclaimed, "Not bad. You are being dishonest. If you don't tell the truth, it seems that I can't slack off. There is such a big gap. In the next period of time, I have to train hard and can't fall behind you too much." The elves were training on the field, and the two were also exchanging training experiences. They are really hard-working. They are handsome, talented, and hard-working. They are ideal boyfriends. Zimeng and the other two sat together in an open space on the second floor. From this angle, they could see the two people on the training ground. I have to say, Yao, you have a good eye for boyfriends. Zimeng praised and gave a thumbs up. Hearing this, Nangang Yao also smiled. Why, Meng, do you want to get out of being single? Do you want to ask Zhao to introduce Long Yun to you? Nangang Yao teased. No, Long Yun is not my type. We can't get along. Zimeng shook her head and refused repeatedly. Long Zhao also laughed. Hey Yao, speaking of this, have you done that with him? Zimeng approached Nangang Yao and asked curiously. That is. Zimeng leaned close to her ear and whispered. After listening, Nangang Yao blushed. Is there any? Zimeng looked at her expectantly, full of curiosity. Even Long Zhao turned to look over. Why are you saying that? It's so embarrassing. Hey, just tell me. We are all girls. It's okay. Zimeng urged. No, it hasn't come to that yet. No. What about kisses and hugs? This is it. Oh, so, I thought so. While the three girls were chatting, Zhang Xingyun and Long Yun also stopped training and walked towards the three of them, talking and laughing. Sensing the arrival of the two, the three also changed the topic and talked about other things. Twinner brothers, you are back. Yes, I'm back. Have you decided where to go this afternoon? Zhang Xingyun replied and sat down next to Nangang Yao. Jao, is the weather very hot? Why is your face red? I just drank a hot drink and it's a bit stuffy. Oh. Zimeng laughed secretly on the side. You are laughing so happily. Did you find some money? Zhang Xingyun said when he saw her laughing so happily. Puchy, yes, I found some money. Zimeng replied with a smile. That afternoon, several people came to several unvisited scenic spots in the imperial capital to check in, taking photos along the way and eating local delicacies, which was very pleasant. Zhang Xingyun followed behind them and also enjoyed this leisure time. Time passed quickly and it was the second day. After packing up, several people came to the outside of the dragon gym. The construction of the gym is also very grand and covers a large area. When you walk into it, you can hear the sound of dragons from time to time. The magnificent building and the loud sound of dragons all indicate that this dragon gym is not simple. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 607, Haunter's Battle. Along the way, Long Yun was very familiar with the gym. After many turns, he came to a battlefield. At this time, there were already many people sitting in the audience seats. It's good to have acquaintances. It saves a lot of trouble, Zimeng Meng said with a smile, and several people sat down in one place. It's nothing, it's all the same, Long Yun replied. Because of his help, he could just enter the field and wait, saving a lot of trouble. Bang 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 on the field, a Parasaurolophus and an electric dragon were fighting. It seemed that they had been fighting for a while. The trainer of Parasaurolophus looked like a young college student with a childish face. The one who commanded the electric dragon on the opposite side was the gym trainer Long Huabing, who was also booked by Zhang Xingyun and others. The dragon gym features dragon type elves, but the elves sent out are not all dragon attributed elves. There are also non-dragon attributed elves with dragon blood, such as the electric dragon on the field. The strength of the two elves is roughly the same, both with the strength of the middle stage of the Quasi King, but Parasaurolophus still has a little advantage in attributes. Parasaurus ran quickly with an agile figure, approached the electric dragon quickly, and chopped it down with an II slash. When it chopped down, there was a little dust around it, which could not be seen if you didn't pay attention. As the figures crossed, the electric dragon's condition was slowly declining. Then, it was hit in the lower abdomen by Parasaurus. It screamed in pain and retreated backwards. Parasaurus would not give up this good opportunity and killed it closely, not giving the electric dragon any time to relax. Bang bang bang. Under the violent attack of Parasaurus, the electric dragon was still defeated on the spot. Gukai. After defeating the electric dragon, Parasaurus was out of breath, but in good spirits. Long Huabing walked over, said a few words to the challenger, and took out the gym badge. This challenger has met the conditions for obtaining the badge. Pa pa pa. The audience on the field also applauded at this moment, congratulating the challenger for successfully obtaining the badge. Okay, please welcome the next challenger, Mr. Zhang Xingyun. The electronic broadcast called his name, indicating that it was his turn. Zhang Xingyun immediately stood up and walked onto the field. He briefly exchanged a few words with Long Huabing, and after deciding on a 3vs3 battle, the battle began. It's you, Haunter. His Haunter jumped out of the Pokeball, and the aura it exuded was no longer that of an ordinary late stage peak, but rather the energy fluctuations of an early stage elite level. After the internal battle in the team, Haunter also successfully broke through to the elite level 1 in the following days. Another colored Haunter, that's quite interesting. Then you go, Crimson Dragon. Roar. A sturdy Crimson Dragon appeared on the field, making a loud dragon roar. Judging from the aura fluctuations on its body, it was also an early stage elite Pokémon. Crimson Dragon looked like a standing Pokémon in appearance, with many diamond-shaped structures on its body, and many sharp horns on its body. Its head was red. Although it had 2 wings, it could not fly, and it also had a nickname, the Shame of the Dragon Clan. But this does not mean that it is weak. On the contrary, Pokémon like Crimson Dragon are stronger than most Pokémon. Haunter, say hello, you Will-O-the-Wisp. His groups of blue flames appeared on Haunter and then threw them at the red-faced dragon. Use the strange light. Zhang Xingyun continued to command. His Haunter understood and immediately used the strange light and stepped into the smoke. Roar. The red-faced dragon jumped out of the smoke, his eyes a little blurry. Hey, wake up, red-faced dragon. Hearing this shout, the red-faced dragon recovered, but what caught its eye was a shadow ball. Boom. Haunter also took the opportunity to float closer and blew a gust of freezing wind. Red-faced dragon, spray flames. But Long Huabing's reaction was not slow, and he responded quickly. Zzzz, the sprayed flames met the freezing wind, sizzling, and a large cloud of mist rose. A dark ghost claw penetrated the mist and grabbed the red-faced dragon. Squeak, the pitch black ghost claws collided with the emerald green dragon claws, making a friction sound. Hiss, roar, the red-faced dragon leaned forward, and a layer of evil energy spread over its mouth. It was a bite-crushing move, and it bit over, but Haunter dodged it sideways. Haunter's eyes glowed, and a beam of light shot over and hit it. The red-faced dragon was dazed for a moment, and quickly recovered, crossing its claws in front. Bang, a wave of evil exploded in front of it, and the air wave it raised shook it back a few steps. Not bad. Haunter has grown up, and is no longer the little guy who can only play tricks. Haunter's performance made Zhang Xingyun very pleased. Zhang Xingyun did not fall behind in the training of Haunter and the others, and he has been growing steadily. The qualifications of the younger generation of Haunter and the others are not low, and their potential is also very great. In addition, the current conditions are favorable, and the resources they receive are better than those of Nidorino and the others. Roar, the eyes of the Crimson Dragon on the field were red, and it launched the scale reverse move. Its aura became stronger, and the power of its attack was also increased. However, unlike the general ones, it did not completely lose its mind, and was under the command of the trainer. Seeing it like this, Haunter did not fight it head on. After a few evil laughs, it pulled it, and successfully dragged it. When it was in a weak state, it attacked fiercely, and defeated the Crimson Dragon. After defeating the Crimson Dragon, Haunter laughed triumphantly, feeling full of accomplishment. After the Crimson Dragon was taken back, a exploding tortoise appeared. Its aura was much stronger than Haunter's, and it was a Pokémon at the peak of the mid-elite stage. After a battle, Haunter found that it was no match, so he asked Zhang Xingyun for help. Zhang Xingyun made a gesture, and activated the spirit attachment technique. A pure and thick energy attached to Haunter, and Haunter's aura increased rapidly. Elite early peak, elite middle peak, elite late, and finally stopped at the elite late. Feeling the burst of energy in his body, Haunter felt that it would not be difficult to deal with the red Pokémon on the opposite side. Bang bang bang, Haunter and Blastoise started a fierce battle. To Haunter's surprise, after several fierce battles, Haunter did not get any advantage, and suffered a lot at the hands of Blastoise. Blastoise is strong and fights in a methodical way. It may be that the failure of Red-Faced Dragon made Long Huabing take it to heart, and he commanded Blastoise carefully, making it difficult for Haunter to win, even if it was enhanced to the elite late stage. Chapter 608 Experience. Under the command of its trainer, Tortoisamon repelled Haunter's attacks many times. Huff, huff, huff. Tortoisamon threw out a stream of fog from its mouth, wrapping itself and Haunter in it. Haunter saw it and immediately retreated. Tortoisamon roared, and suddenly a shadow rushed over quickly and caught up with Haunter. Bang, bang, bang. Haunter screamed in pain, and when it was about to fight back, the shadow had already returned to the fog. It's a shell-breaking move. An energy body in the shape of a dragon head swept over. It was Tortoisamon's dragon wave. Haunter hit a shadow ball to meet it, and the two attacks met halfway, with a bang, and thick fog spread out. Whoosh, a sound of breaking through the air was heard, and its shell-breaking move came again. With the previous experience, Haunter would not be caught off guard. A strong mental thought swept over, but it was quickly avoided. A mud wave appeared around Haunter and rushed over. Bang, after a few muffled sounds, Blastoise returned to its shell. Haunter floated over and chased it, but Blastoise returned to its shell and resumed its previous steady fighting style. After several attacks, Haunter pulled away and looked for a good opportunity. After several moves, Haunter was panting slightly. The earlier fierce battle with Red-Faced Dragon had consumed a lot of its physical strength, and now it has been fighting with Blastoise for so long, and it has consumed more seriously. Moreover, the amplification effect on its body is slowly decreasing, and there is not much time left for it. If it can't be defeated, then it will be defeated. Haunter moved forward and started to pull with Blastoise. Black energy scattered on his body and entangled Blastoise. Boom, the two Pokémon started a tug-of-war again. After a few moves, a flame shot up into the sky, and then there was a blast. A wave of air spread everywhere, and the air wave was like a tide, and smoke filled the sky. Hiss, the smoke and dust dispersed, and Haunter lay on the ground, having lost the ability to fight, and Blastoise opposite it was the same. At the critical moment, Haunter's same fate move was successfully performed, attached to Blastoise, and then both lost the ability to fight. Both sides lose the ability to fight at the same time, and the gym rules will decide. Please send out the Pokémon first. The referee on the side raised a small flag in his hand and announced, "Hahaha, awesome, I'll be able to be with Long Yun." Long Huabing said with a smile, "Not bad." Long Huabing smiled, picked up a Pokeball, and threw it out, and a Pokémon appeared on the scene. "This is a poisonous algae dragon. It's rare," Zhang Xingyun said softly, opening the system to scan. Name, poisonous algae dragon, male, attributes, dragon, poison characteristics, poison hands qualification, light blue strength, elite peak skills, impact, dissolving liquid, water gun, smoke, shaking tail, shadow clone, poison tail, dragon wave, water tail, water cannon, surfing, sleeping, sludge bomb, hold on. The poisonous algae dragon has purple skin and a circle of dry seaweed around its body, but it also looks a bit like a seahorse. Above its head is a red cross-structured leaf, from which extend two dry seaweeds like horns. There are two seaweeds-like tentacles behind its head, and a leaf-like appendage extends from the left and right sides of its body. Poisonous algae dragons are rare in China, and are special elves in Western Europe. However, it is not surprising that Long Huabing can have this poisonous algae dragon. A pretty good Pokémon, Zhang Xingyun said softly, looking at the information on the interface. This algae dragon would not be at a disadvantage, even if it faced a Pokémon that was aqua-seeking. Metal Monster, you go. Zhang Xingyun immediately took out Metal Monster's Pokeball and released it. Dang, the one released was the second Metal Monster, with the strength of the late elite, just right for the algae dragon. Dang, the Metal Monster looked at the algae dragon on the opposite side, with a face full of fighting spirit. After the game started, the Metal Monster used high-speed movement to quickly approach the algae dragon, with its arm shining slightly, and slash down. Roar, the algae dragon let out a low roar, and rushed forward with a surf. Bang, with a muffled sound, both retreated. Is Xingyun training its second team of Pokémon? Blastoise and the others have not appeared. Long Yun said in the audience. Well, Haunter and Metal Monster have high qualifications, great potential, and are worth cultivating. Nangang Yeo replied. Horrible, is this the boss? The second team's elves are stronger than my trump card elves. It's terrible. Zimeng Meng was a little depressed, and then she said. It seems that I may not even be able to beat other people's second team elves in this elf competition. I feel suffocated when I think about it. You are too inward looking. So, I told you to train more often, but you didn't. Long Zhao said to her. Usually, she always fished for 3 days and slacked off for 2 days. Not long ago, she had the energy to break through the qua-seeking. While the few people were chatting, the battle on the field was almost coming to an end. The Metal Monster, which had an advantage in attributes, had already gained the upper hand and completely suppressed the poisonous algae dragon. Roar, the poisonous algae dragon's whole body was beaten up. The Metal Monster moved at high speed and came behind it, punching out with both fists and hitting it directly. The Metal Monster's arms were also contaminated with toxins because they touched the poisonous algae dragon's body. If it were other elves, they might have been poisoned, but this didn't seem to have much effect on the Metal Monster. Swish, a beam of shiny electric cannon was fired, directly hitting the poisonous algae dragon on the ground. Boom, with a loud noise, the field shook a few times, and the Metal Monster landed on the ground, looking at the smoke and dust. Seeing that the poisonous algae dragon lost consciousness, it was relieved. The poisonous algae dragon lost its ability to fight. The Metal Monster won, so the winner is Mr. Zhang Xingyun. Pa pa pa. As soon as the referee finished speaking, applause broke out on the field, applauding for this wonderful battle. From the competition, it can be seen that you are an excellent trainer and have passed the assessment of the Dragon Gym. This dragon pattern badge is given to you. Long Huabing handed over a badge with the dragon pattern. Thank you. Zhang Xingyun thanked him and took the badge. Then the two shook hands and walked off the battlefield amid applause. It's my turn. Zimeng Meng stood up and said. With the assistance of Long Yun, the four of them were arranged together. Come on, just play steadily. Halfway, the two met, and Zhang Xingyun said, yeah. Zimeng Meng came to the court, a little nervous. Chapter 609 Reception. Soon the battle began. Gem Starfish, I'll leave it to you. On the battlefield, Zimeng Meng threw a Pokémon, a red light flashed, and the Gem Starfish appeared on the field. Judging from the energy fluctuations it emitted, it was a Pokémon at the early stage of the Qua Seeking. The Pokémon opposite her was a Thorn Dragon King, whose strength was almost the same as that of the Gem Starfish, both of which were Pokémon at the early stage of the Qua Seeking. Bang bang bang, the two Pokémon started fighting on the field, and the sound of the collision of moves rang out. To be able to be admitted to the Magic City University, Zimeng Meng's basic skills are quite solid. Although she is not as good as Nangang Yeo, Long Zhao and others, she is also a genius compared to ordinary people. In the audience, Zhang Xingyun also chatted about whether she could get the Dragon Emblem badge. For her, it was not difficult. Among the trainers who came to the gym to challenge, most of the young trainers were at the elite level, and there were also many ordinary levels. With Zimeng Meng's current strength at the early stage of the Qua Seeking, it would be outrageous if she could not get the badge. Meng Meng is just a little lazy, otherwise she would have the strength of mid to late stage Qua Seeking. Long Zhao said, looking at Zimeng Meng who was commanding on the field. After several months of hard training, coupled with other factors, her Dragonite has also reached the peak of the late stage Qua Seeking when it bursts out with all its strength. Although there are no Pokémon with the strength of a king, they are still among the top of their class. Bang bang bang, the situation on the field became clear. Zimeng Meng assisted the Gem Starfish and gradually gained the upper hand. At an opportunity, she seriously injured the Thorn Dragon King. Now it is the final stage. After a few more rounds, the Gem Starfish commanded by Zimeng Meng defeated the Thorn Dragon King as expected, and won the first game. On the battlefield, Long Huabing said a few words with a smile, which was basically to praise her words, and then picked up a Pokéball, threw it out, and fought fiercely with the Gem Starfish. After a fierce battle, the two Pokémons died together, and both lost their ability to fight. Finally, Long Huabing sent out a red-faced dragon in the early stage of the Qua Seeking, and Zimeng Meng smiled, and took out the qualified Picossi. After a fierce battle, Picossi defeated the red-faced dragon, and won the final victory. I'm still very powerful. You see, I won the Dragon Emblem with 2 Ls just like Xingyun. Returning to him, Zimeng Meng said proudly. Yeah, Meng Meng is really powerful. Nangang Yeo and others agreed with a smile, which made Zimeng Meng smile. Nangang Yeo was the next one to play. When the broadcast sounded, she stood up and walked towards the battlefield. No one had to say come on, which was not difficult for her at all. After a conversation, the battle began. 10 minutes later, Nangang Yeo returned to her seat with a dragon emblem in her hand. As expected, she also succeeded in the challenge and got the dragon emblem of the Dragon Gym. Then Long Zhao came on the stage and exchanged greetings with Long Huabing. You are here to buy goods today, right? Long Huabing said with a smile while looking at Long Zhao. Yes, I'm here to buy goods today, Uncle Wu. Long Zhao also replied with a smile. Okay, Uncle Wu, I wish you would do this. Long Huabing said with relief, picking up the Pokéball and throwing it out. After a fierce battle, Long Zhao also got her own dragon emblem. The owner and several deputy directors of the dragon-type gym in the imperial capital are all from the Long family. In terms of dragon-type Pokémons, no family in China can be stronger than their Long family. Okay, I have finished my battle this morning. Let's go to the backyard and sit down. Don't be in a hurry to leave. By the way, call your friends too. If you have any questions, you can come and ask me. Long Huabing said with a smile. Okay. Long Zhao agreed, called Zhang Xingyun and others, and came to the backyard of the gym. Come on, everyone, drink this blood dragon robe. In a courtyard with pleasant ancient scenery in the dojo, Long Huabing was drinking blood red tea and calling a few people. The blood red tea had a fresh fragrance. After smelling it, I felt that my blood and ki became more active. I thought it was a good thing. Thank you. Zhang Xingyun and the others thanked him and picked up the teacup to drink. After drinking the tea, Zhang Xingyun felt a wave of hot air rising up and circulating in his body. The blood and qi in his body started to move, speeding up the circulation, and he felt that his blood and qi became more vigorous. Zhang Xingyun exhaled, as if he had sat in a hot sauna. Very comfortable. Hahaha, not bad. Come and drink more. Long Hua Bing laughed and continued to call people. A few people started chatting, and Zhang Xingyun also asked him a few questions about breeding dragon elves. In the team, the 3 dragons, Dragonite, Charizard, and Wood Gecko, are all elves with dragon bloodline. There are some questions that Zhang Xingyun still has some doubts about. Long Hua Bing did not hide his own opinions. He gave him his opinions one by one, and analyzed them in depth, which benefited Zhang Xingyun a lot, and saved him a lot of time to look up information. He is worthy of being an expert in dragons. After talking for a while, Zhang Xingyun and his friends said goodbye and left. After walking around the imperial capital, they ate in a restaurant. The matter of the imperial capital has come to an end. Let's go to Mobi next. Nangang Yeo said at the table. Okay, I haven't been to Mobi yet. I heard that Mobi is a grassland that stretches as far as the eye can see. Zimeng Meng said excitedly, looking very interested. The environment in Mobi is still good. Long Zhao said with a look of nostalgia. Yeo, you should have been there. Some have been there once. Nangang Yeo responded and continued to eat. Zhang Xingyun and Long Yun were also chatting. I will lead the team to the National University for exchange and study in a few days, otherwise we can go together. Long Yun said regretfully. No problem, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. I wish you a successful start. Hahaha, I heard that the students of the National University this year are also very strong. This time should be very interesting. Bang, the two clinked glasses and drank with a smile. Oh, you two always talk about this. Besides fighting, you are cultivating elves. Don't you think it's monotonous? Zimeng Meng looked at the two people chatting and said contemptuously. No way, I don't think so. Zhang Xingyun smiled. The few of them walked around the imperial capital that day and didn't return to their residence until the evening. Metal Monster, the current training for you two is tacit understanding training. As long as this aspect achieves the desired effect, you will not be far from evolution. Zhang Xingyun said to the two metal monsters on the training ground of the residence. Chapter 610 Rushing to Mobi. Dang, the two metal monsters responded immediately after hearing this. There's no rush for this. You two have been together for such a long time, and you have some tacit understanding. Just train slowly. When you reach the state of telepathy, it's time to evolve. I will use telepathy to connect the two of you, and you can have a spiritual exchange. Zhang Xingyun looked at the two metal monsters and said slowly. Dang, okay, then I'll start. Zhang Xingyun sat in front of the two metal monsters, used telepathy on them, and connected them again. The big metal monster can feel what the second metal monster is thinking, and the second metal monster can also feel the big metal monster. This is also the application of superpower. After performing it, Zhang Xingyun stopped. Okay, that's about it. It's getting late now. Let's stop here today. Go back and rest first. Dang, after Zhang Xingyun tidied up, he came to the living room of his residence. Zimeng Meng and others sat on the sofa, watching TV and chatting. You're back from training. Yeah. Zhang Xingyun replied, took the water cup handed by Nangang Yeo and started drinking. The Icefield gym in Mobi has been booked the day after tomorrow. Nangang Yeo said softly, putting the phone in front of him. The interface showed the words booked in a box. Okay, which day are you going to Mobi? Zhang Xingyun replied. The day after tomorrow morning. Zhang Xingyun nodded, indicating that he understood. Several people chatted in the living room for a while, and then went back to their rooms. After returning to the room, Zhang Xingyun saw that it was still early, so he took out bottles and jars from the space, and started to mix them. After a while, he finally mixed a bottle of turquoise potion that emitted a green glow. This was prepared for the wood gecko. In the past few days, Zhang Xingyun also discovered that the wood gecko showed signs of evolution, so he prepared it in advance. It's done. Fortunately, the technique is not rusty. Looking at the glittering potion in his hand, Zhang Xingyun said with a chuckle. After packing up his things, he came to the window, looked at the bright moon in the sky, stood for a while, then sat cross-legged on the bed, and began to practice. In this space, little stars appeared, attracted by him, and immersed in his body. Nothing happened all night, and soon it was the next morning. Early in the morning, Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes, washed up, and then brought the elves to the training ground to start training. Let the other elves train on their own, focusing on training Metal Monster, Haunter, and Beast. After training for a while, Longyun also arrived and trained on the other side of the training ground. The two said good morning to each other from a distance, and then trained their elves separately. Haunter gathered in front of a grey-black stone. The stone exuded a gloomy atmosphere, and the Haunter next to it looked very comfortable. Beast was wearing a special set of equipment, and making unique movements. The two metal monsters were controlling the black balls, and they changed immediately under Zhang Xingyun's command. It required their cooperation, which was also a way to train tacit understanding. While the two were training, the servants also brought a sumptuous breakfast, and put it down on one side of the training ground. Longyun stopped him, and the two ate breakfast on one side. The electric monsters were also taken care of. Thank you for your hospitality these days, Zhang Xingyun said gratefully. It's a bit strange for you to say that. It's nothing. Just play a few more games with me. After you're full, play another game with me later, and let you see the progress of me and Garcomp. Okay. Zhang Xingyun smiled and agreed. After the two of them had eaten, they started sparring on the training ground. After a fierce battle, Nidoking still won, and it took him a few more moves to defeat Garcomp than last time. After the battle, Longyun suggested that the two teams of Pokémon should have a sparring match, and Zhang Xingyun agreed. Let the metal monsters appear. The strength of the Pokémon on Longyun's side is not much different from that of the metal monsters, and most of the Pokémon that appear are dragon-attributed Pokémon. After a fierce battle, the two sides tied in the contest between the two teams of Pokémon. Hahaha, it feels great. This is the fun of being a trainer. Afterwards, Longyun laughed. This competition made him very happy. For him, the fun of a trainer means competing with every strong person, regardless of winning or losing. Zhang Xingyun also smiled. He also gained something from this battle, and can continue to improve their training. Fighting is the best way to test the effect of training. Both of them were very satisfied. When they let the elves go down to heal their wounds, they were also exchanging their experiences. Longyun also took out several books on the cultivation of dragon elves, and discussed them together. Zhang Xingyun spent this day in discussion and training. During this period, Nangang Yao and others invited him to go out for fun together. Zhang Xingyun felt that he had played too much in the past few days, and didn't want to go much, so he refused and trained the elves at home. Nangang Yao also went out to play accompanied by Long Zhao and others. The next day, Longyun sent the four to the airport. Come and play again next time, when you have time. Well, see you. Goodbye, handsome guy. After saying goodbye, the four got on the plane. I'm coming to the prairie, Zimeng said excitedly on the plane. Seeing her like this, Zhang Xingyun and the other two smiled. With a vibration, the plane glided on the ground and slowly flew into the sky. The people on the plane chatted for a while, and then stopped chatting. Zhang Xingyun looked out the window, and looked at the scenery outside. The weather was not good today. It was dark, and it seemed that it was going to rain. After flying for a few hours, it began to rain. The rain was not small. The raindrops fell on the plane, making a popping sound. The scenery outside became blurred because of the rain. The plane lowered a little in the sky. There were many flying elves around the plane to escort it. In this rainy day, there was no impact, and it flew steadily. Under the skilled operation of the staff in the plane, it flew towards Mabi. In heavy rain, the number of elves in the sky decreased sharply, but there were fewer troubles. At about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the plane flew over Mabi Airport and descended slowly. Ding dong, the plane is about to land. Ladies and gentlemen, please get ready and pack your belongings, to avoid leaving them in the cabin and causing inconvenience. A pleasant female voice came from the plane's broadcast, reminding everyone in the cabin. Get up, Meng. Don't sleep anymore. We're in Mabi. Oh. After a shake, the plane landed steadily at the airport. Zhang Xingyun and his companions followed the crowd, got off the plane, and came to the outside of the airport. Chapter 611 Forest Lizard. It's a rainy day. This is rare. We actually encountered it. It rarely rains in Mobi. After leaving the airport, it was still drizzling. Nangang Yeo said slowly. This is a coincidence that we encountered it. Longzhou next to her replied, and then said, let's go. Let's go to the residence first. I'll ask them to pack it up. We'll live there for the next few days. That's fine. Nangang Yeo said softly. She also has a residence in Mobi, but since Longzhou said so, they went together. Then the four of them got in the car together and drove to their destination. Crackling, the raindrops fell on the glass of the car, making a sound. The four of them came to a villa complex and came to a villa. After Longzhou made a phone call, the gate of the villa opened. Let's go. Zhang Xingyun drove the car and drove into the villa. As soon as the car was parked, a team of servants, led by a butler, gathered outside the car. Mrs. Here, lunch has been prepared as you ordered. Well, take us there. Longzhou nodded after getting off the car. Then, under the leadership of the housekeeper, the four of them came to the dining room of the villa. Several servants stayed to clean up the car. A roasted aroma spread in the air, and the servants carried one dish after another of fragrant food. Several people also carried a roasted whole lamb, and the roast meat was still sizzling with hot oil. It had just been roasted for a short time. This lamb is farmed, not genetically synthesized. Let's see how it tastes. Seeing that everyone had eaten, Longzhou asked with a smile. Not bad, the meat texture is different. Zhang Xingyun replied, took out the seasoning at hand, sprinkled it on the meat, and started eating. Nangang Yeo and the others also said it was delicious. Then, one dish after another of Mobi cuisine was presented for the four to taste. In order to eat this, the chefs here specially hired local famous chefs. Occasionally, you can come here to travel and relax, and you can also eat the delicacies here. At the table, Longzhou said lightly. Then you can eat delicious food wherever you travel. That's so cool. Meng said. That's right, Meng. You have to work hard to become stronger. When you become stronger, your finances will be more comfortable. Then you can buy real estate in the city you want to travel to, and then hire a famous chef. You can do the same. Longzhou said to Meng with a smile. That makes sense. Meng's eyes lit up and responded. Joa, you have also bought real estate here, right? Zhang Xingyun asked. Yes, it can be said that there are real estates all over China. It's not expensive to buy real estate now. Besides, money is nothing to us. It's worth spending some money to exchange for a pleasant journey. Nangang Yeo replied. Zhang Xingyun nodded and agreed. It was raining outside, and the few people didn't want to go out. Zhang Xingyun came to the training ground. There was a transparent shield on the training ground to isolate the dripping rain and not affect the training. Cammy, in this rainy environment, the water turtle felt very comfortable. The sky was dark and connected to the distance. There were lightning and thunder. It would not stop for a while. Let's do some simple training. Metal and Haunter, you three will fight in the gym tomorrow if nothing goes wrong. Zhang Xingyun said to Metal and the others. Chamo. As soon as he finished speaking, the wood gecko shouted beside him, indicating that it also wanted to go on the field. You have a chance to show your ability. Don't worry, wood gecko. With your current strength of the peak of the ordinary early stage, it is not suitable for you to go on the field. Chamo, the wood gecko gestured to express its meaning. It insisted on going on the field and said that it could be amplified through the spirit attachment technique. After the amplification, it should be the peak of the ordinary late stage. Okay, I'll let you show your ability this time. Zhang Xingyun thought about it, and seeing that the wood gecko was so persistent, he agreed. Chamo, the wood gecko, was very satisfied with the answer he wanted. Suddenly, it seemed to have understood something, and the light of evolution was radiating from its body. Slowly, its whole body was emitting light. This was the light of evolution. The wood gecko began to evolve. It has evolved. Come and eat these, wood gecko. It will be very good for you. Zhang Xingyun was slightly surprised, then took out the prepared supplies and let wood gecko eat them. With a flick of his hand, the warm spring in a container was controlled by him. The warm spring wrapped around wood gecko to help its evolution. Then he took out a few green beads containing life energy and placed them around its body. A series of green glimmers surrounded wood gecko. Chamo wood gecko made a comfortable cry and began to evolve with the blessing of many treasures. In the light of evolution, the figure of wood gecko slowly stretched and became taller. Chamo, a voice that was more mature than before came from the light, and then there was a sudden shock, and the light dissipated, revealing the agile figure of the forest lizard. Chamo the forest lizard came in front of him and showed him its evolved figure. Okay, it'll be fine once it evolves. Zhang Xingyun smiled, stretched out his hand and patted the forest lizard's shoulder. The forest lizard in front of him was about 1.5 meters tall, with eyes that were piercing and particularly sharp. The game is 0.9, but in the anime, the forest lizard is not that short, so it is increased to 1.5 meters. The system is turned on, and the forest lizard is scanned, and its information is displayed. Name: forest lizard, male. Attribute: grass characteristics, lush qualification, deep blue strength, ordinary late stage skills, slap, stare, continuous slash, cross scissors, super absorption, mysterious power, repay a favor, dragon wave, energy ball, lightning flash, see-through, leaf blade, leaf storm, sword dance, sleep, sunny day. The forest lizard has 3 dark leaves on its wrists, which can be used as blades. There is a very long leaf on its head, and its tail has also become thin and long. The aptitude has not yet broken through to purple, but it is close. Zhang Xingyun murmured. As expected, purple aptitude is not so easy to break through. After investing so many resources, the aptitude of the forest lizard is still blue with a hint of purple, but it is still acceptable. He is sure that before the forest lizard evolves into a lizard king, its aptitude can be raised to purple level 1. He is very optimistic about the forest lizard. Chamo, okay, I will let you play tomorrow. Zhang Xingyun agreed. Chamo the forest lizard was very happy to hear this. Forest lizard, come and show your power after evolution. Chamo the forest lizard nodded and began to gesture on the training ground, showing its power after evolution. Chapter 612, Mobile Gym. Chamo the forest lizard was extremely fast. With a flash, a green knife light flashed past. A small gap as small as a thread appeared in the middle of a training device the size of a basketball in front of it. Very good, so even if you meet an early elite, you may not be without a chance of winning. Zhang Xingyun clapped his hands and said with relief. Bang, as soon as the voice fell, the original basketball-sized training device broke into 2 halves and fell to the ground. Looking at it again, the cut was very smooth, as if it was cut by a precision instrument. Chamo, hearing him say this, the forest lizard nodded and then found a branch from somewhere and held it in his mouth, looking very cold. At this time, the sky outside darkened, the rain stopped, and the black clouds in the sky disappeared, revealing stars, and a full moon could be seen on the horizon. His haunter floated over and chatted with the forest lizard. Dang, hey boo, the metal monsters also came over and shouted together. Okay, you guys are free to move around. Zhang Xingyun let them move around freely and walked into the villa. Naturally, he was not afraid that undertaking and the others would run around. I'm back. Yeah, I'm back. When he came to the living room, he saw the 3 of them watching TV and talking and laughing. Their laughter could be heard from afar. Just now, the elves were evolving. It was the wood gecko, right? Nangang asked. Yes, it has evolved into a forest lizard now. Not bad. Its qualifications are not low, and it will be a very powerful elf when it grows up. Yeah, I think so too. It's a pity that the weather is not good today, otherwise we can go out and see the scenery of Mobi. Zimeng on the side said with regret. If you come to Mobi and don't see the endless Mobi grassland, it's like coming in vain. This rain seems to be related to the arrival of the secret realm. This secret realm named Mobi 30 has been raining since yesterday, and it has been raining until now, Long Zhao said, explaining the reason for the rain. Really? Doesn't that mean that this newly arrived secret realm is an undeveloped secret realm? Then, after challenging the gym, how about we form a team of 4 and go to explore the secret realm together? Maybe we can get a lot of treasures or meet rare elves. Zhang said excitedly, looking at the three people. Why are you interested in going on an adventure now? You didn't want to before. Looking at her like this, Long Zhao replied with a smile. Oh, today is different from the past. I want to have some actual combat and make some money by the way. Zhang smiled playfully and talked around Nangang Yao and the other two. Yao and Xingyun, what do you think? Long Zhao did not agree immediately, but looked at Zhang Xingyun and the others first. Okay, Meng's interest is so high. Nangang Yao agreed. Seeing her agree, Zhang Xingyun also agreed. Then after we challenge the gym, we will go to explore the secret realm. Okay, hahaha. Zhang was very happy. The wild is very cruel and bloody, you have to be mentally prepared. At this time, Zhang Xingyun said to Zhang indifferently. I know, although I rarely go there, I still know. That's good. Zhang Xingyun nodded and said nothing more. After chatting for a while, Zhang Xingyun came into the room. It just rained, and it started snowing. This weather is simply. Zhang Xingyun looked at the heavy snow outside the window and watched quietly. As a person from Nanyu province, it was the first time for him to see snow in reality. It is already November, and it has snowed in Mobi, located in the north of China. He didn't feel the cold, because he was a superpower user, and a superpower user of the first level of the Heavenly King. The energy in his body surged on its own, and this little bit of cold had no effect on him, not enough to make him feel cold. After standing in front of the window for a while, Zhang Xingyun sat cross-legged on the bed and began to practice. The next morning, Zhang Xingyun washed up and came to the training ground. At this time, Nidoking and the others were already in the training ground. Who made these ice sculptures? When Zhang Xingyun arrived, he saw more than a dozen ice sculptures, which looked like the elves and him, and were carved vividly. Kamidang Blasto eyes, and two metal monsters shouted, indicating that they were the ones who made it. Very good, it's done so well, and it also proves your control over energy. Zhang Xingyun praised. Kamidang okay, we are going to the gym later, so we won't train. You can move freely. Zhang Xingyun let them move freely, and warmed up on the side. Nidoking, Giant Claw Mantis and other elves were doing some basic training. The training ground here can't withstand the training of the Heavenly King level. The Tyrannosaurus and Bangulus did not stay on the field, but returned to the cultivation room in the villa. They did not like this weather. They were training on the field until Nangang Yao came to call them, and then they stopped. Let's go eat. Zhang Xingyun called and walked into the villa. Nidoking and the others followed behind and walked into the villa together. At about 9 o'clock in the morning, Zhang Xingyun and the other four came to the door of the mobile gym. This can't be called a door, it's like a marker. After crossing it, you can see a piece of snow white color. The white snow covered the original grass, and there is a tall building in the distance. Unlike the fighting gyms in the Magic City and Guangzhou, which are located in the city, the mobile gym is located in the suburbs. The area here is more than 30 kilometers in radius. This gym is really big, more than 30 kilometers of land. Boom. After entering the gym, you can hear a rumbling sound. The ground trembles slightly, and groups of Quintero and afro-headed buffaloes run away, with an imposing manner. There was a person sitting on top of these elves, wearing the same clothes. He was an apprentice of this gym. After a while, the four of them came to the front of the building. After showing their information to the gym staff, they were taken outside to an open-air battlefield. At this time, around the battlefield, there was already a group of spectators wearing cotton jackets sitting and watching, and the sound of fighting could be heard from the field. The four of them were all capable people, wearing only a long-sleeved shirt and long pants. In this weather, their clothes were a bit simple, different from the people around them, and a bit conspicuous. Bang bang bang, the battle on the battlefield continued. Quintero charged, and the two-tailed monster in front of it had nowhere to hide. It was hit directly, and its whole body was directly knocked flying. It fell to the ground, and after struggling for several times, it did not get up from the ground, and directly lost its ability to fight. Chapter 613. Cold Forest Lizard. Twin-tailed monster hand lost his ability to fight. Quintero won, and the winner is the gym trainer. After twin-tailed monster hand lost, the referee on the field announced at the right time. Pa good. Being straightforward is a manly operation. Yes, 1 strength defeats 10 skills. The onlookers cheered, and Kintero's performance was in line with their philosophy. Trainer, I regret to inform you that you failed the gym assessment and cannot obtain the badge of the mobile gym. On the battlefield, a tall, dark-skinned middle-aged man wearing a leather coat said. He is Ruin Chap, the deputy gym leader of the mobile gym, a gym trainer of the king level. Your combat reaction ability is not fast enough, and your grasp of the situation needs to be improved. For example, when facing Kintero's charge just now, you did not play to your strengths and avoid your weaknesses, allowing the two-tailed monster hand to face Kintero head-on, and then lost. In fact, in the battle just now, you could have been more roundabout and fully demonstrated the strengths of the two-tailed monster hand. Ruin Chat said to the challenger, telling him his shortcomings. Thank you. After listening, the challenger bowed deeply to thank him, put away the two-tailed monster hand, and left the venue. Zhang Xingyun and several others also found a place to sit down and watch. It was not their turn yet. There were 3 people before them. Soon, the 3 people came on stage one after another. 2 of them won the badge, and 1 failed the challenge because his level did not meet the assessment requirements. Okay, the next challenger is Zhang Xingyun. Mr. Zhang Xingyun, please arrive at the battlefield within 5 minutes. If you are late, it will be regarded as giving up the challenge. Soon it was his turn. After hearing the voice, Zhang Xingyun stood up and walked to the field. Ruin Cha saw him like this and knew that he was a capable person. Which challenge mode do you choose? There are several challenge modes such as 1 vs 1, 3 vs 3, 6 vs 6, and there are also team battles. Zhang Xingyun still chose the 3 vs 3 battle mode. Seeing that Zhang Xingyun had made his choice, Ruin Cha took out a Pokeball and threw it out, and a mid-elite Kintero appeared on the scene. Mid-elite, venue, forest lizard, go. Chamo. A Pokeball was thrown out, and the forest lizard appeared in front of Kintero, took out a branch, held it in its mouth, and looked at Kintero with cold eyes. Very cold. It looks good, but is its strength so low? If so, that boy is doomed to lose. Yeah. After a quick feeling, the forest lizard's aura is too low. Kintero is too much, and he hasn't reached the elite level yet. After the forest lizard appeared, the people watching around started to discuss. Ahem, did you send the wrong Pokémon? It hasn't started yet, you can change it, and it won't take up your Pokémon quota. He could naturally see the strength of the forest lizard, so he reminded it. No, I'm sending the forest lizard. Zhang Xingyun replied, and with a hand seal, a spirit attaching technique was performed, attaching to the forest lizard. Chamo. The energy of the forest lizard gradually increased, from the peak of the late ordinary, the early elite, the peak of the early elite, until it stopped at the middle elf stage. It's an amplification technique, it's not simple. As a trainer of the first level of the king, his vision is naturally not bad, and he can see it at a glance. And Zhang Xingyun's amplification technique also caused a commotion in the crowd. It seems that I'm too talkative. Seeing this scene, Ruin Cha laughed. Soon the battle began. Kintero, run. Kintero took a step and moved. The speed was getting faster and faster, and a pair of bullhorns flashed with cold light. Charge. Kintero rushed out with a fierce momentum. If he was hit, he would definitely be seriously injured. Chamo. The forest lizard dodged Kintero's attack with a light dodge, looking relaxed. Kintero turned around and rushed again. Chamo. He charged many times, but was easily dodged by the forest lizard every time. Like a bullfighter, he could dodge Kintero's attack at the critical moment. Kintero collapses. Kintero's hoof stomped on the ground, and waves went in all directions. Chamo. The forest lizard looked serious, his arms glowed green, and he crossed his arms and slashed at the ground, dissolving the waves from the ground. After a muffled sound, the forest lizard turned into a residual image and rushed towards Kintero. Kintero also spread his limbs, with a faint layer of energy wrapped around his body, and rushed forward, using a self-sacrificing collision move. When the two were about to meet, the forest lizard dodged sideways. His posture was very agile, and he swung his arms, and green lights lit up on the field. The two staggered and stood aside. Kintero called out, looked back, and fell to the ground with a snap. His eyes were full of circles, and he lost his ability to fight. Chamo the forest lizard held the branch in its mouth and stood up, looking very cool. Pa, handsome. Ha ha ha, such a handsome forest lizard. I've decided that I plan to arrange one for my son. It seems that they only have one move in fighting. This forest lizard is quite awesome. The handsome scene of the forest lizard also attracted a round of applause. It seems that after evolution, the forest lizard has changed a little showy. Looking at the forest lizard holding the branch in its mouth, Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. He was impressed by it this time. Interesting, it's very fast. Then you will be in this battle with the sonic boom monster. Ruin Cha threw out an elf, a red light flashed, and a hideous looking elf with a purple body appeared on the scene. It was the sonic boom monster. Roar as soon as the sonic monster appeared, it made a loud noise. What about the late elite stage? Can the forest lizard do it? Chamo the forest lizard nodded, indicating that it was no problem, and looked at the sonic monster with a serious look. The game begins. Forest lizard, seed machine gun. Chamo the forest lizard opened its mouth and shot a series of yellow seed machine guns at the sonic monster. When it was about to get close to it, the sonic monster suddenly opened its eyes, opened its mouth wide, and sprayed out a series of sound waves. Roar. The seed machine gun that was shooting was blocked by the sprayed sound waves. After a stalemate of a few seconds, it exploded. Sonic wave. Use the sonic wave. Roar. A transparent sound wave spread out, attacking indiscriminately. Affected by this, the protection device of the battlefield was activated, and a transparent shield rose up, covering the battlefield and isolating it from the crowd to prevent accidental injury to the spectators. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 614, Obtaining the General Department Badge. Roar. The sonic monster opened its mouth, and waves of sound gushed out, heading straight for the forest lizard. Chamo the forest lizard blocked the sound with its arms, and retreated backwards, stopping only when it was more than 10 meters away. Roar. The sonic monster stomped on the ground, causing it to shake. Chamo the forest lizard's eyes became fierce, and it did not retreat but advanced, using the lightning flash to meet it. After approaching the sonic monster, its arms glowed green, and with a few swishes, the blade that had accumulated power slashed down. Bang. With a muffled sound, the blade of the forest lizard was blocked by the raised arm of the sonic monster. Roar. The sonic monster let out a low roar, and its body trembled slightly. The small holes on its head seemed to be absorbing air. Chamo the forest lizard shook its body, changed its attack position, and slashed at other parts of the sonic monster. Roar. A deafening sound wave burst out from the body of the explosion monster and spread in all directions. Chamo. In a hurry, the forest lizard was shaken away and retreated to the side. At this time, the explosion monster moved, and when it ran, the ground also shook. It came to the front of the forest lizard and fell with a heavy fist. Bang. A pit was smashed out where the forest lizard was originally, and the forest lizard appeared behind it, with a green light flashing. The explosion monster reacted quickly, and a flame ignited on one fist, and then the flame fist touched the blade. Roar. During the stalemate, the explosion monster roared again, spraying sound waves, and the forest lizard was repelled again, and retreated to the side. Chamo the forest lizard's face became solemn, realizing the difficulty of the explosion monster in front of it. Roar. The explosion monster roared, took a step, and rushed again. Bang, boom. The forest lizard and the blast monster started fighting again, and the field was roaring continuously. The blast monster was not weak. Under the command of its trainer, it became stronger and gradually gained the upper hand. The forest lizard was no longer as cool as before, and the amplification effect on its body was slowly disappearing, making it increasingly difficult to resist the attack of the blast monster. Chamo the forest lizard also realized this, changed its cautious style, became radical, and fought with the blast monster. Boom. The smoke and dust dissipated, and the forest lizard half squatted on the ground, panting, and stared at the smoke and dust in front of it with a pair of yellow vertical pupils. Roar roar sounded in the smoke and dust, and several sound waves sprayed towards it. The forest lizard propped up its body and used its last strength. A storm of flying leaves flew away. Boom, the sound wave hit the forest lizard's body, and the forest lizard was directly blown away. With a snap, it fell to the ground beside it, with circles in its eyes, and it had lost its ability to fight. Who, the smoke and dust dispersed, and the explosion monster stood on the ground, with scars all over his body, left by the leaf storm. Roar. After seeing the forest lizard fall, the explosion monster roared, then fell to the ground and lost consciousness. Thank you for your hard work. The explosion monster has also lost consciousness. You performed very well, and I'm very satisfied. Zhang Xingyun picked up the Pokeball, took back the forest lizard, and said to the Pokeball. The Pokeball shook slightly, as if responding to him. It's really wonderful. It can be seen that you are very good to your Pokémon, so the Pokémon will fight so hard. Ruin Chad exclaimed with approval. Zhang Xingyun smiled, said nothing, took out the Pokeball, and released the metal monster. Dang, the appearance of the metal monster caused the crowd of onlookers to make a noise again. The shining quasi-god Pokémon was quite eye-catching. He and the metal monster were no strangers to this. The opposite side threw a Pokeball, and a strong cat boss appeared on the scene, with the strength of the peak of the late elite. Soon the metal monster and the cat boss started fighting. After a fierce battle, the metal monster successfully defeated the cat boss, and won the game. Congratulations on passing the assessment of the Mobile General Department Dojo. This badge is given to you. After the battle, Ruincha came over with a white badge in his hand. Thank you. Zhang Xingyun thanked him, and took the badge. After chatting for a few words, Zhang Xingyun left, and returned to his seat. Not long after he left, the broadcast sounded and called Nangang Yeo. Nangang Yeo got up, came to the field, and soon started fighting. After a battle, there was no suspense. Nangang Yeo passed the dojo assessment, and won the badge of the Mobile Dojo. After thanking him, Nangang Yeo also left the field, returned to his seat, and sat down next to Zhang Xingyun. The next person was Long Zirao. After Long Zirao came on stage, the two exchanged a few words. It seemed that they knew each other. There was no surprise next. She passed the dojo assessment, and got the badge of this dojo. Her strength was not bad either, and her main elf also possessed the strength of the late Quasi-King level. She was also the best among her peers, so it was not difficult for her to pass the assessment of the Mobile Dojo. I also passed the assessment successfully. Meng, it's your turn next. Come on. Long Zirao cheered her up. Yeah, I can do it too. Soon it was her turn to play. In the first game, she quickly defeated Ruincha's elf. In the second game, Ruincha sent out a Quasi-King level elf, and Zimeng seemed to be struggling. After a fierce battle, Zimeng still successfully passed the dojo assessment. Although her performance was worse than Zhang Xingyun and others, she also successfully obtained the badge. I also got the badge. Zimeng said with a smile. After returning to her seat, Zhang Xingyun and others were also happy for her, and encouraged her a few words. It was a close call just now. Fortunately, I reacted quickly, otherwise my Picossi would have lost. Judging from your performance just now, even if your Picossi loses, you can still get a badge. Really? I'm not lying to you. The gym assessment is based on performance. If you perform well, you can get a badge even if you lose. The four of them all got badges, and completed their mission here. It was already noon. The four of them walked out of the gym, drove the car, found a restaurant to have a delicious lunch, and enjoyed many local specialties. Where are we going to go this afternoon? What's fun in Mobi? During the meal, Zimeng said, if we are going to explore tomorrow, we have to buy a batch of supplies in the afternoon. Many equipment used in snowy days are not prepared. Zhang Xingyun said that every time he went out for an adventure in the wild, he naturally had to be well prepared. It was just that the supplies he had prepared originally lacked some of the supplies needed in the snowy days. As he was talking, fluffy snow had begun to fall outside, and the snow gradually became heavier. Chapter 650 Nicefield Expedition. It's snowing. After the four of them finished eating and left the restaurant, they found that it was snowing heavily outside. Then the four of them came to a large square, bought a batch of supplies, and then went up to the rooftop of the square to enjoy the snow outside. Wow, the weather is so cold. Zhang withdrew her own superpowers and felt the weather. It's more than 10 degrees below zero. How can it not be cold? Long Zhao reminded her that the four of them were all superpowered and had energy flowing in their bodies. This temperature had little impact on them. But the weather at this time was indeed very cold, more than 10 degrees below zero. Looking at the heavy snow outside, passers-by were wearing fur coats, and they could also know the weather outside. It's a good time to try this cotton padded jacket. Zhang took out a pink cotton padded jacket and put it on. Seeing this, several people also took out their newly bought cotton padded jackets and put them on. On the morning of the second day, the four of them wore a set of ski equipment. Each of them paddled a sled and moved on a white snowfield. Pidgeot and several flying elves flew in the sky, guarding the trainers below. Haha, I can finally show off my skills. Zhang excitedly paddled the push stick in her hand, moving quickly on the snow, and Zhang Xingyun and others followed behind. Pay attention, the front is where the secret realm descends. Zhang Xingyun reminded, and slowly slowed down. Nangang Yao and the other two girls also slowed down, and the four of them entered a forest paddled on white snow. The branches were full of white snow. At a glance, it was a vast expanse of white, and the original green was covered. We should have been sliding here for more than 10 kilometers. Almost. Originally, this was a grassland, but after the secret realm descended, there were trees here. Zhang Xingyun nodded. Haha, let's go. Maybe there are a lot of good things in here, and there are no good things left outside. Zhang urged, rushing to the front. It's better to be careful. It's better to be careful. Zhang Xingyun said cautiously. In such a place in the wild, it is better to be careful, even if the four of them are strong, and have champion level elves to escort them. I know. Yao, Ruea, follow me. The four of them skied for a long time in this snowy forest. They encountered many Pokémon along the way, but they were all novice and ordinary Pokémon. When they saw the few people and the flying Pidgeot in the sky, they avoided them from a distance, and the four of them ignored them. On the way, they also encountered many fruit trees. Hanging on the fruit trees, wrapped in fine snow, and a few materials growing on the ground, but the four of them did not stop. It was obvious that these did not meet the four of them's expectations. If the four of them were low-level trainers, they would definitely not let go of these, and would definitely collect them and sell them outside. Let's ride on the Pokémon and hurry on. It's been a long time since we entered this jungle. We have moved at least 10 kilometers. The strongest Pokémon we met is also the elite level 1, and it must be in the inner circle. Zhang Xingyun suggested. After listening, Nangang Yao and the other two agreed. They were a little tired from skiing since this morning. Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yao rode on the back of Pidgeot, and a chief swan carried Longs around the other two and followed behind. Looking into the distance on the back of Pidgeot, the sky and the earth were vast. After flying for a while, the four of them landed in a rolling hill. This should be the inner circle. After landing, Zhang Xingyun felt the surrounding situation and said softly, the elves walking here are at least elite level 1, and most of them are Quasseekings. The four of them gathered their minds and walked quickly in a direction. Two metal monsters, Haunter and Forest Lizard surrounded him, paying attention to the surroundings. The elves here just came to temper the metal monsters. Nangang Yao and the other two girls did not send out two powerful elves, but only send out a few weaker elves. Bang bang bang. Not long after walking, the four of them were attacked by a team of Blizzard Kings, and the strongest one was a Quasseeking mid-stage Blizzard King. The metal monsters attacked and quickly defeated the Blizzard Kings. It's been several days since they came, and these elves have regained their sanity and even know how to set traps. Zhang Xingyun pulled away the vines and said with a smile. In front of the four people was a deep pit. On both sides of the grass, there were woven vines. The vines were purple and contained toxins. There should be their nest nearby. Let's go and take a look. There should be a lot of things. After saying that, Zhang Xingyun walked in front, following the traces around, and soon came to a cave covered by heavy snow. Before entering the cave, Zhang Xingyun used his mental power to scan it, and found that there were only a few Blizzard Kings with fairly good strength inside, and the others were Snow Hat monsters, and there were more than a dozen elf eggs. Raw bang bang bang. After a burst of noise, the elves inside were all solved, and the 4 people also came to the nest of the Blizzard Kings. Ice crystals, snow lotus flowers, ice heart fruits, ha ha ha, I'm rich. Zimeng ran to these ice treasures and cheered happily. The 4 people selectively cleaned up and took away the valuable ones. They didn't take all the Blizzard Kings away, and they chose a few good looking elf eggs. Wow, I got several thousand just like this. This money came too easily. On the way, Zimeng exclaimed, thinking that the money came too easily. Actually, this is not easy. Zhang Xingyun replied. Why? Because we are attacking by dimensionality reduction, and it is a team battle. We are strong, and have many people. It is naturally very simple to take down this quasi-king level tribe, but do you want you to attack by yourself? Myself? If it's just me, I can't take it down. Zimeng shook her head. She still has some self-knowledge. Let alone, she felt that she couldn't beat the Blizzard King in the middle stage of the quasi-king, let alone take down this tribe. The 4 of them walked and stopped, letting their elves get a lot of training, while also gaining a lot. This should belong to the inner circle, Zhang Xingyun said, looking at the surrounding environment. When they got here, the 4 of them had crossed several snow-capped mountains. The elves they encountered were becoming more and more powerful. Most of them were quasi-king level elves, and they could sense the aura of the king level from afar. Boom boom boom. Suddenly the ground shook violently, and a large group of elves were galloping in the distance, as if something was driving them from behind. At this time, a majestic and extremely powerful aura appeared in the perception of several people. This is a champion level elf. After feeling it, Zhang Xingyun knew that the aura in front was emitted by a champion level elf. Chapter 616, Fighting the Ice Dragon. From a distance, Zhang Xingyun sensed a champion level aura moving towards this side. Perhaps this was the reason why these elves were running. There are champion level elves rushing here, let's avoid them. Okay. Zhang Xingyun and the other 4 immediately rode on the elves, soared into the sky, and flew to one side. Champion level elves. Haven't they been settled yet? Pidgeot stopped in midair. On its back, Zhang Xingyun saw from a distance a 4-meter tall ice dragon roaring at the sky. Maybe they can't get away. Nangang Yeo beside him said, looking at the ice dragon running in the distance. Well, maybe. Zhang Xingyun nodded and replied. Roar. The ice dragon stopped, roared a few times in place, and then turned back. It seems to be driving them away. This scene also fell into Zhang Xingyun's eyes. It seems to be doing this for a purpose. Maybe it is guarding something. Nangang Yeo beside him also spoke up. If so, the thing guarded by the champion level ice dragon should not be a simple thing. Zhang Xingyun touched his chin and guessed. Then should we go and take a look? Zimeng came over and said. Zhang Xingyun and the others looked at her. I think there should be something good. It's worth us to take a look. Seeing Zhang Xingyun looking at her, Zimeng said dryly. You are right. The behavior of the ice dragon is consistent with your guess, but our strength is still not enough. Zhang Xingyun shook his head and said calmly. In fact, our strength is still enough. I have a champion level guardian elf. I remember Yeo you said that you also have one. In this case, the problem is not big. Long Zhao on the side said, perhaps because of curiosity or Zimeng's suggestion. When she knew that her life was not threatened, she was inclined to check forward. Or, let's go and take a look. Maybe it's a good opportunity. At this time, Nangang Yeo also tended to check forward. That's fine. Seeing this, Zhang Xingyun no longer insisted and agreed. The 4 of them restrained their breath and moved towards the direction of the ice dragon. After the earlier elves galloping, the ground was bumpy and a large number of tree trunks fell to the ground. Half an hour later, the 4 stopped in a corner and looked out with binoculars. The ice dragon came to a huge ice cave, looked around for a few times, and then lay down on the side. Zhang Xingyun released his mental power and explored the ice cave. After only a few meters, he felt that his mental power was suppressed in the ice cave. At this time, the ice dragon opened his eyes and roared around. Roar. The ice layer in the distance also shattered with a roar. There is something strange about that ice cave. My mental power was suppressed, and the perception of this ice dragon is very strong. It was discovered by it not long after I explored it. Zhang Xingyun told his discovery. If the mental power is like this, then if we show up, we will be discovered instantly. Zimeng said helplessly. The early stage of the champion. Zhang Xingyun looked at the ice dragon and thought in his heart. Joa, can you control a Lido? Zhang Xingyun turned his head and asked Nangang Yeo. Yes. Nangang Yeo replied immediately. That's good. I need you to do me a favor. What favor? Do you have any plans? Seeing Zhang Xingyun like this, Nangang Yeo asked curiously. I want to fight the ice dragon with the power of the whole team. Zhang Xingyun said seriously. You want to challenge it? Nangang Yeo said in surprise, and Zimeng and the other person next to him were also surprised. Well, I want to try it and experience the power of the champion elf. With your help, Joa, there will be no danger. Nangang Yeo thought about it for a few times, and then agreed. Then be careful. Okay. After Zhang Xingyun agreed, he teleported and disappeared on the spot. He walked much faster than us, and now he has the ambition to challenge the champion. Seeing Zhang Xingyun teleport away, Long Zirao said with some admiration. Zirao, I may need your help later. Nangang Yeo asked. No problem. Long Zirao agreed immediately. Boom, as soon as the voice fell, a wave of air spread and shook the three people. Let's go. Yes. On the field, Zhang Xingyun was suspended above the snow, and Nidoking, Mantis and several Pokémon surrounded the ice dragon. The ones blocking the line were Nidoking and Mantis, two Pokémons with the combat power of the late king. Behind them were Pidgeot and Charizard, two Pokémons with the combat power of the middle king. Behind them were Electabuzz, Tyrannosaurus, Banglass, and Blastoise. These 8 Pokémons were his strongest Pokémons at the moment. Zhang Xingyun did not let the rest of the Pokémons come out, because they would not be of much use if they came out. Rohebu Heibu Nido Banji. The Nidokings were not afraid of the roar of the ice dragon and roared back. Banji Bangalus stood in place and launched a sandstorm. Whoosh whoosh under its control, the gravel was dancing. Roar the ice dragon roared, and a gust of ice wind blew, and the sandstorm created by Bangalus was instantly suppressed. Heibu Heibu. The electric shock monster or the thunder covered body jumped up at the first time and struck with the thunder. Its original strength broke through to the peak of the late Quasi King, and after the increase of the spirit attachment technique, it also had the combat power of the king. Above the head of the ice dragon, an ice shield suddenly appeared to block this kind of lightning. Woo, the ice dragon moved, and the wind suddenly blew on the field, and the wind and snow flew wildly, blowing towards Nidoking. This move is a blizzard move. In the hands of the ice dragon, it has a huge destructive power. Nidoking stood in front of the elves, and a rolling flame appeared in front of him, turning into a big character. A huge big character burst forward to meet it. The big character flame merged into the rolling snow and wind, making a sizzling sound, and several streams of water vapor rose up. Charizard and the others were not idle either, and they launched a counterattack. In an instant, colorful moves appeared on the field to meet the incoming snow and wind. Boom, a huge wave of arrows up and spread everywhere, affecting the area within a few miles. Wuaku Hobi Tyrannosaurus and Pidgeot broke through the heavy snow and wind and came to the sky above the ice dragon. Dragon's Wave, Airblade, and Jet of Flame all went to the ice dragon. Chapter 617 Champion Level Strength. Boom, colorful skills fell, and the field was covered by a white mist. Woo, a hot breath emanated from Charizard, and then turned into a dazzling fireball like the sun, falling straight down, aiming at the ice dragon underground. The ice layer on the ground gradually melted because of Charizard's move. Woo, as if feeling the heat above, the ice dragon looked up, moved its tail, and lifted up a large piece of white snowflakes to meet Charizard. When it was approaching, the cold wind was cold, wrapped in wind and snow, and bound Charizard inside. When it was about to do something, the giant claw mantis and Nidoking came in front of it with Zhang Xingyun's teleportation. Nidoking jumped up, his arms glowed with purple light, turned into a purple light blade, and rushed forward. The giant claw mantis had already rushed in front of it, its claws glowed, and a pair of alloy claws waved over. Woo, the ice dragon looked very calm when he saw this. His tail moved, and a sound of breaking through the air was heard. Nidoking and Mantis flew backwards at the same time, and retreated to one side. Whoosh, the wind and snow flew again, and flew towards the two. Zhang Xingyun behind him saw this, and his eyes glowed blue. Nidoking and Mantis suddenly disappeared from their original positions to avoid the attack. Nidoking and Mantis appeared on the other side, and along with them, there were also the electric beasts. They formed a formation, surrounded the ice dragon in the middle, and all used their special moves to attack. Boom boom boom, there was a tremor of the earth, fine snow flying, and the wind howling. The 8 Nidokings scattered, and after standing still, they used their special moves again and bombarded again. In the sky, Charizard, Tyrannosaurus, and Pidgeot each showed their skills, and fell towards the middle together. On the ground, Nidoking and his companions also moved, and began to accumulate strength. Then, with the help of Zhang Xingyun, they disappeared from the spot, and attacked the ice dragon. Boom, a huge roar sounded again on the field. The ground shook continuously, and cracks appeared in the ice layer, cracking away into the distance. Boom boom boom, Nido hey boo woo, Nidoking and his companions cried out in pain and flew back. The smoke and dust dissipated, and the ice dragon still stood there, roaring excitedly. After several full strength attacks by Nidoking and his companions, they only plowed the land around it a few times, and it just looked a little embarrassed. After these waves of attacks, the ice dragon seemed more and more manic, and the wind and snow on the field suddenly increased its strength. Roar, whoosh whoosh whoosh, the wind wrapped in snow, and the snow contained gravel. Under the control of the ice dragon, it flew around, covering the sky, and trapping Nidoking and the others in one place. Ice cones and rocks appeared in the sky, flashing cold light under the sunlight. Zhang Xingyun was about to use teleportation to escape from here, but he found that this world was blocked. When he used teleportation, it was extremely difficult to get out, like being trapped in a quagmire. When he wanted to burst out with all his strength to break through, a ripple appeared in the space in front of him, and a Lido appeared, flashing blue light. The next moment, Zhang Xingyun and the elves disappeared on the spot. The next moment, the ice dragon's attack fell. The ground shook with a rumble, and a mushroom cloud of smoke rose into the sky, and a wave of air wrapped in fine snow spread everywhere. Ahem, the champion level strength is so amazing. Zhang Xingyun emerged from the snow and sighed. In the face of Nidoking and his group, 2 late stage kings, 2 mid stage kings, and 4 early stage kings, they went together, but still ended up in defeat. They could not survive a few moves at its hands. Under this last attack, if they had not retreated in time, they would have been seriously injured, and the damage caused by these waves of Nidoking to the ice and snow dragon was negligible. Nangongyeo and his group also appeared nearby, and the snow around them was pushed to the sides by a force. Awesome, they actually survived the full amount of moves at the hands of the ice and snow dragon. Zimengmeng gave a thumbs up and praised. Ahem, I almost died there. Recalling the last move of the ice and snow dragon, his own teleportation was actually restricted in some way. Otherwise, he could run, if he couldn't beat it. Champion level Pokémons have already mastered the energy of heaven and earth to a very deep degree. They can use the energy of heaven and earth to fight. In addition, the ice and snow here are very compatible with the ice dragon, and the power that can be unleashed is 3 times stronger. Nangongyeo said slowly. Mastery of the energy of heaven and earth. Zhang Xingyun listened and thought about it. This trip to the ice field was worth it after fighting with the champion level Pokémons. Okay, what should we say next? There is an ice dragon here, so let's take a detour, Zimengmeng suggested. After seeing the terrifying destructive power of the ice dragon, her original adventurous spirit was gone. Then let's go. Nangongyeo put a Lido back into the Pokeball and only released Gardevoir to guard on the side. Longs around Zimengmeng each released a Pokemon to be on guard, and were about to leave here. When several people wanted to leave, a loud hoofbeat came from a distance. An ice blue bad Pokemon quickly rushed over here. Wow, that's Articuno. So beautiful. Zimengmeng looked up and saw an Articuno in the sky with a long tail like a colorful flag, flying towards them. Why is Articuno here? Zhang Xingyun looked up, and the first thing he thought of was not the blue and gorgeous figure of Articuno, but why Articuno appeared here. Articuno, there is someone over there, go and take a look. cry Articuno stopped not far in front of the 4 people, and a woman jumped out from the back of Articuno and appeared in front of the 4 people. "It's King Lizu," Zhang exclaimed, and when she landed, she was recognized by several people. "Hello, 4 trainers. There is a champion level Pokémon lingering here. We will fight it later. It is very dangerous. Please leave here quickly." After landing, Lizu saw that the 4 people were covered with fine snow again, and they looked a little embarrassed. There were only 3 Pokémon on the field, and only 1 guard ever had the strength of a king, while the other 2 were only at the quasi-king level. So she persuaded the 4 people to leave. "Hello, Sister Lizu, I'm Longzerao. Do you still recognize me?" Longzerao took off her hat covered with fine snow, revealing her true face, and said to Lizu with a smile, "Why are you here? Why do you look like this?" Lizu took a look and immediately recognized Longzerao and asked. Chapter 618 Lizu. Sister Lizu, it's like this. The 4 of us came to Mobi to challenge the gym. After we got the badge, we heard that a new secret realm had descended here, so we came here to explore, and we met you here, Longzerao said to Lizu in front of her, briefly explaining it. "I see." Lizu nodded and said softly, "Hello, King Lizu, can you sign an autograph for me? Speaking of which, you are our senior sister." Zhang smiled and came forward. "Are you students of Magic City University?" "Yes, we are all in the first class of superpowers at Magic City University." Zhang nodded and responded, "Haha, I didn't expect you to be junior brothers and sisters." Lizu also laughed. She didn't expect to meet alumni here. "Sister Lizu, when did you capture Articuno and cultivate it to the champion level? Then my brother will be crushed by you, and crushed in all aspects." Longzerao looked at Articuno and said with a little surprise, "Haha, is that so? I'm also looking forward to meeting that guy Longzerao again, but unfortunately I don't have much time." Lizu chuckled and came to the side of Articuno. "A year ago, I passed the assessment of Ice Island and was recognized by Little Blue. Wow, what a beautiful Articuno, Sister Lizu, you are so amazing." Looking at the Articuno emitting dots of blue light, Longzerao exclaimed, "The appearance of Articuno is very beautiful and meets the aesthetic taste of most people. It has beautiful blue feathers. It is said that its beautiful blue and transparent feathers are made of ice. There is a crown composed of 3 dark blue prismatic feathers on its head. Its eyes are red, which looks very extraordinary. Its beak is short and grey, the same color as its long and thin legs. Articuno has a long colorful flag-like tail, which is longer than the body of Articuno and the same color as the crown. The posture of flying with a long tail fluttering is very beautiful and very elegant. Hahaha." Hearing the praise, Lizu laughed. In the distant sky, more than 10 figures flew towards the crowd and soon landed near them. A dozen people jumped out from the elves and stood on the ground. More than 10 people were wearing the same search officer uniform, both men and women, and their strength was not bad. A young man came to Lizu and reported to her, "All members of the Mobi search team 1 are here." "Well, it's good that they are all here. You will have 3 minutes to rest. After 3 minutes, you will start the mission." Lizu nodded. "Yes." The man responded and walked into the crowd. Lizu nodded and looked at the 4 people. "This place will probably become a battlefield later. You should have the ability to protect yourself." "Don't worry, Sister Lizu, we have the ability to protect ourselves. Just now, my classmate went forward to fight a few moves with the Ice and Snow Dragon." Longzerao nodded and said, and also talked about what Zhang Xingyun had just done. Lizu was a little shocked when she heard it and looked at him. "You fought the Ice Dragon?" "Yes, after a few moves, I was defeated very quickly." "That's amazing. When I was your age, I was probably not as good as you. I didn't expect that after I graduated, Magic City University would have a person like you. Maybe in a few years, I will see you in the King of Kings tournament. Maybe we will become colleagues." "Senior sister, you are too kind. I'm not praising you. You are much stronger than I was at that time. When I was your age, I probably couldn't even beat a move from the champion elf. It's really the Yangtze River behind pushing the old wave." Hearing this, Lizu greeted the 4 people and asked about some recent events in Magic City University. "General search. 3 minutes have passed. Can we start the action?" The original young man came over and said respectfully to Lizu, Okay, junior sister and brother, I have a mission to do, so I won't chat anymore. With your strength, you will be fine. I won't persuade you anymore. Just do it on your own. After saying that, he came to the back of Articuno, waved to the 4 people, then soared into the sky, and flew towards the direction of the giant ice and snow dragon, followed by the dozen or so powerful investigators. So handsome, I wish I could be as good as King Lizu. Looking at Lizu riding Articuno away, Zimeng enviously said, It's difficult, but it's not without a chance. As long as you don't chase TV series, don't like to eat delicious food, don't gossip, and don't be indecisive, put your time and energy into training elves and persevere, and work hard to learn elf knowledge, maybe you have a chance to be as good as King Lizu. Long Zirao laughed beside him. Forget it, I'll just keep it this way. Ha ha ha. Boom, a loud noise sounded in the distance, and a wave of air swept in, and fine snow flew all over the sky. Senior sisters, they fought with the giant ice and snow dragon. Looking at the situation, it should we go over and take a look? Zimeng suggested. Maybe we can see what the giant ice dragon is doing there, and witness a championship level battle. That would be much more interesting. Zhang Xingyun and his companions thought for a while, then rushed over there. The 4 of them came to an open place and looked at the battle over there from afar. There was a strong wind on the battlefield over there, and the snow and wind were flying together. 2 champion level ice elves were fighting in that area, and the noise was so loud that the area turned into a battlefield and spread outward. Bang bang bang. 10 minutes later, the situation stabilized. Articuno carried Lizu to the front of the ice dragon and said something. According to past situations, champion elves would be placed in a certain place, and under normal circumstances, they would not be killed. Champion level elves are also a strategic resource, and should not be killed easily. Roar, the ice dragon was roaring and negotiating with her. After a while, as if reaching a consensus, the ice dragon quieted down, and several investigators also walked into the ice cave. How is senior sister, and why is it here? Seeing that the battle had subsided, the 4 people rode on the elves to Lizu's side. It's over. The ice dragon has agreed to leave here and go to the resettlement site. That's good. Zimeng asked puzzledly. Total search. At this time, several investigators who had entered the ice cave came out, each holding an elf egg in their hands. It's just that the elf egg had several tiny cracks, and the breath of life on the egg was slowly dissipating. Roar, I will treat it, don't worry. Roar. Lizu took out something from the space and took the 2 elf eggs over. A powerful energy penetrated from her body and wrapped the 2 elf eggs. After processing them, she put them into 2 incubation devices. Chapter 619, Arrival in Chang'an. Roar. Feeling that the 2 elf eggs had been properly handled, the ice dragon roared, stretched out its tail, and rolled over the 2 incubation devices. Okay, ice dragon, I have already kept my promise, and you should also fulfill your promise, and go to the resettlement site. Roar. The chief search subordinates found that there is a pool of ice jade below, and there are inexplicable energy fluctuations around it. It is speculated that it is some kind of rare mineral vein. Well, I know. Notify the geological department and let them come to explore. Yes. Zhang Xingyun and others looked at the scene in front of them and guessed the reason why the ice dragon was lingering here. These 4 portions of ice jade each of you. 4 bottles of jade containing ice jade floated in front of the 4 people. Take it, just as a gift from my senior sister. Thank you, senior sister. The 4 thanked and took it. You are welcome to do what you want. I will escort the ice dragon to the resettlement site. Okay, sister, have a safe trip. Yes. Then, Lizu took a few people and rushed to the resettlement site with the ice dragon. The 4 of them waited for a while, and when a group of people came, they left. Sister Lizu is so generous. She actually gave us a piece of ice jade marrow. On the way back, Zimeng said with a smile, ice jade marrow is a very rare treasure of heaven and earth. It can greatly improve the innate qualifications of ice attributed elves, and it also has the effect of healing and washing marrow. It is especially important for ice attributed elves. Whether soaking or swallowing, it has unexpected effects. Its value is equivalent to a treasure of the king level. In the evening, the four of them came to the city, sold all the things they harvested today, found a restaurant to have dinner, and returned to their original residence. Stayed in Mobi for a few days, during which time, several people visited several scenic spots and historical sites in Mobi. On this day, the four of them came to the airport in Mobi, took a passenger plane, and rushed to Chang'an to challenge the ghost gym in Chang'an. This trip to Mobi ended successfully. Zhang Xingyun felt that he had gained a lot from this trip. Badges and some resources were secondary. The important thing was to fight with the champion level licensed Snow Dragon. Although it ended in failure, he also faced the champion level combat power and knew the horror of the champion level. Chang'an, located in the western part of China, is a very charming place. In ancient times, more than 10 dynasties had their capitals here, and its ancient strength was better than that of Jinling. After the elves came, Chang'an also developed rapidly, especially the development of the ghost system was famous in China, so the ghost gym was settled in Chang'an city. At about 9 o'clock in the evening, the passenger plane that Zhang Xingyun and his companions took arrived above Chang'an city. There were no accidents along the way, and they arrived safely over Chang'an. Ding dong, the plane is about to land. Please be prepared, ladies and gentlemen, and pack your belongings, to prevent them from being left behind in the cabin. The plane's broadcast sounded at the right time, reminding everyone in the cabin. Wake up, we've arrived in Chang'an, and we are ready to get off the plane. Oh, okay. Zimeng woke up and slapped her face. Buzz after a vibration, the plane stopped steadily at the airport, and then Zhang Xingyun and others stood up from their seats and walked out with a crowd. We are in Chang'an now, we should have a place to stay. Zimeng turned around and looked at Nangang Yao and others. Of course there is. Long Zirao chuckled. That's good, and I've saved some money again. Don't come on. Then the four of them came to the outside of an exquisite courtyard, and a team of servants came and welcomed them in. After eating and drinking, the four of them sat in the living room and chatted. We have an appointment for the morning of the day after tomorrow, and we still have one day to rest tomorrow. Nangang Yao said lightly, while looking at her phone. Next we have to speed up, collect the remaining badges, and then train the elves in seclusion to prepare for the competition. Zhang Xingyun also said that it was mid-November now, and there was not much time left before the competition. Of course, the remaining time was definitely enough to collect badges, but Zhang Xingyun wanted to leave more time to train the elves and strive to achieve excellent results in the competition. Well, I have to consider this too. Long Zirao nodded and agreed. Yeah. Nangang Yao also echoed. I don't care, anyway, no matter how much I toss, it will be the same. Zimeng said indifferently. Compared with Zhang Xingyun and the other two, she had already laid down. After chatting for a while, Zhang Xingyun went to wash up, and then returned to the room, and began to practice. Now I'm not far from the middle stage of the Heavenly King. Zhang Xingyun said happily, feeling the energy filling his body, practicing step by step, and it is estimated that the breakthrough will be in these few days. Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyun calmed down and began to practice. The next morning, Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes on time, got up and washed, took Nidoking and the others to the training ground behind the courtyard, and began warm-up training. Chamo the forest lizard trained seriously. It knew that it was the weakest Pokémon in the team, so it had to train harder. Dang, the two metal monsters were doing synchronized movements, and their movements were uniform and tacit. Under the cooperation of the two, they used their telekinesis at the same time, and piecing the black beads in front of them into patterns. From simple to complex, they were changing rapidly, and they had a certain tacit understanding. Well, great, you are not far from evolution, come on. Seeing this scene, Zhang Xingyun nodded, and said with great satisfaction. Dang, the two metal monsters responded and continued to practice. His Haunter was very active. Perhaps because the ghost energy in Chang'an was too active. The scene was full of excitement, which made Zhang Xingyun very pleased. Nidoking and Claws, come here. Zhang Xingyun shouted, calling Nidoking and his friends. Nido Hassan Wuabi Nidoking and his friends came to him, waiting for his order. I'll release it later, you guys stay and watch to prevent any accidents. Zhang Xingyun said to the four Pokémons. Nidoking and his friends nodded, indicating that they understood. Zhang Xingyun took out Steelix's Pokeball and released it. The next moment, Crystal Steelix appeared in front of him. Raw Crystal Steelix yelled in a low voice, stretched out its body, and looked towards Zhang Xingyun, looking like it couldn't wake up. How did Steelix sleep? Was it comfortable? Zhang Xingyun smiled and looked at the Crystal Steelix in front of him. Chapter 620, Subjugating the Crystal Steelix. Raw Crystal Steelix roared softly, looking directly at him in response. Its glass-like body shone brightly in the sun. Its injuries were almost healed during this period. Every once in a while, Zhang Xingyun provided it with a batch of Pokémon food, so that it would not starve. It lived very comfortably in the Pokeball, which was different from the damp underground space it lived in. During this period, although Crystal Steelix was not tamed, it was treated very well, and Zhang Xingyun did not abuse it. I think with my current strength, I'm qualified to be your trainer. Roar. After listening to it, Crystal Steelix looked at Nidoking, then at Mantis, and shook his head, but his attitude was better than before, and he was not so manic. Then Super Evolved Mantis and Nidoking. Nido hastened. The field lit up, and Nidoking and Mantis completed their evolution. A strong aura permeated their bodies, and filled the field. It was the aura of the late Heavenly King. Raw. The Crystal Steelix on the opposite side felt it at the first time, looking at Nidoking and Mantis, a little confused. It was locked in the Pokeball most of the time, isolated from the outside world, and did not know that the two Pokémon had the current strength. Raw. Crystal Steelix roared softly at Zhang Xingyun, with an unbelievable look in his eyes, as if asking something. This is the ability of our trainer. Under my training, it is not surprising that Nidoking and Mantis have such strength. Zhang Xingyun said to Crystal Steelix lightly. Steelix, do you think the food you have eaten recently is delicious? Is the living space comfortable? Raw. Crystal Steelix nodded after listening. But there are more delicious food you haven't eaten, and more comfortable space you haven't lived in, like Nidoking. Besides, do you desire strength? Zhang Xingyun came in front of it and said lightly. Steel Snake, you are a rare alien Pokémon, very worthy of cultivation. Become my partner. Under my cultivation, you will become stronger, and there will be a wider stage for you to display, instead of shuttling in the damp and dark underground. So, I invite you again, join us. Zhang Xingyun destroyed the original Pokeball, picked up a luxury ball, attached a mental link, and placed it in front of the big Crystal Steel Snake, looking at it seriously. Raw. The eyes of the Crystal Steel Snake flashed with a thoughtful look. Zhang Xingyun stood quietly aside. He had already captured it so many times. If it still didn't work, he would give up on capturing the Crystal Steel Snake. Crystal Steelix looked at Nidoking and Mantis, then at Zhang Xingyun, and then, as if it had made a decision, its huge body moved. Its tail touched the luxury ball on the ground, and with a whoosh, it turned into a red light, and entered the Pokeball. Dang. The Pokeball made a dang sound, and at this time Zhang Xingyun also felt the spiritual connection between himself and Crystal Steelix, and he successfully subdued Crystal Steelix. Ha ha ha, Crystal Steelix, come out. Zhang Xingyun laughed, opened the Pokeball, and let it out. Welcome to join Crystal Steelix. Raw. Nido Hassan, Nidoking, and Mantis all surrounded it, greeted it, and welcomed it to join. Pa, congratulations, you have subdued Crystal Steelix. Behind it, Nangang Yeo came over and clapped. You're here too, why don't you sleep a little longer? No, it's time to train. I've been resting for several days. Yeah. Find a time to go to the Pokémon Center, and add its information. Then it will have a chance to play in the competition. Nangang Yeo looked at the Crystal Steelix shining in the sun and said softly. Yeah, I know. Zhang Xingyun agreed. His current trainer level is the king level. After the Crystal Steelix is registered, it can be used in the competition. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Zhang Xingyun came to the Pokémon Center in Chang'an to update his information. Updating Pokémon information requires assessment. During the assessment, Crystal Steelix completed a series of actions under his command, and fought a battle with the assessors. After passing several other assessments, it successfully updated the information. The assessment process is still quite strict, and it is also to prevent some tricks. Wow, you actually subdued a king level Steelix, and it's a Crystal Steelix. At noon, Zhang Xingyun returned to his residence. As soon as he walked into the door, he heard Zimengmeng's envious voice. Well, it took me a lot of effort to tame it, but it was worth it. Zhang Xingyun replied, sitting down on the sofa. Then you will be invincible in the competition, right? Who will be your opponent? No, 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 there are always people who are better than you. Maybe someone is stronger than me. It's hard to say. We will know after the competition. You are so modest, big brother. You are so powerful. Can you help me train the elves? The requirements are not high. Just train my Turquoise-seeking early stage elves to the early stage of the king. Zimengmeng's eyes sparkled, and she looked at him expectantly. Seeing her like this, Zhang Xingyun also laughed. PFFT, Meng, you are too whimsical, and you are still a king. Longs around Nangang Yeo next to them laughed. Otherwise, the late stage of the Quasi King is not unacceptable. Zimeng muttered. You're still in the late stage of the Quasi King. I can't help you with that, but I can give you some pointers on training. If an elf wants to break through in the fastest time, the best way is to fight. High intensity fighting is the best way for an elf to improve its strength, and of course resources must keep up. Zhang Xingyun shook his head and laughed. Forget it, I'd better lie down and be your background wall in the competition. Zimeng said with a look of despair. Haha, you still have to train. There is still some time before the competition, and you still have room for improvement. Zhang Xingyun advised. Let's talk about it later. While the four of them were chatting, the servants had prepared lunch. After lunch, Zhang Xingyun came to the training ground and trained with Crystal Steelix on the training ground. Mainly, Zhang Xingyun was talking about some enemy routines and experiences. This aspect is what Crystal Steelix, who has lived in the wild since childhood, needs to understand. Zhang Xingyun talked, and Crystal Steelix listened quietly. Through telepathy, they could understand each other's meaning. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 621, Ghost Gym. Raw, there is such a saying. There are 18 attributes of Pokémon living in this world. Each Pokémon has its own characteristics. Trainers carry out appropriate training for Pokémon according to the different attributes and characteristics. Like Steelix, you are a Pokémon with Steel plus ground attributes. The 4 attributes of Fire, Water, Fighting, and Ground restrain you, and can cause you more damage than other attributes. Zhang Xingyun slowly told Crystal Steelix to expand its knowledge. On the other side of the training ground, Nangang Yeo and the other 2 were also training Pokémons, perhaps influenced by him. Fortunately, the training ground is very wide, enough for 4 people to train together. That afternoon, the 4 of them did not go out to play, but trained Pokémons in the training ground. During this period, Zimeng also ran over many times to ask him about the key points of training Pokémons. Zhang Xingyun did not hide anything and gave answers. This afternoon, Zhang Xingyun's main training focus was on Crystal Steelix. After an afternoon of training, they became closer to each other. The giant mantises also have a friendly attitude towards the steel snake. After training, they will get together and communicate with each other. At night, the full moon was hanging high in the sky. Zhang Xingyun stopped the elves and ended the training for the day. After returning to the house and washing up, Zhang Xingyun sat in the living room and swiped his mobile phone. Strange. Zhang Xingyun looked at the dormitory group on the mobile phone interface. Only he and Pei Chenjun were sending messages, and Lan Yujin and Kan Xiuming had not come out for 3 days. What's strange? Nangang Yeo asked. Yujin and the others haven't come out for 3 days. Zhang Xingyun said truthfully. They went on an adventure. Maybe. It's okay. There are many places in the wild without signals. Maybe they want to experience life in the wild. Zimeng on the side interrupted. It's not impossible. Young people love adventure. Maybe they are still roasting fire somewhere in the wild. Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyun did not continue to talk. After chatting for a while, Zhang Xingyun returned to the room and sat on the soft big bed. The room was filled with thin smoke, and he soon entered a state of concentration. The light around his body was glittering, and he began to practice. His supernatural power was also slowly broken through in this state. On the second day, after the 4 people had breakfast, they came to the door of the ghost gym in Chang'an. The building of the ghost gym is based on purple and black, which looks a bit gloomy. Walking into the door of the gym, a cold breath hit me. Hiss. A few ghastly passed by, looked at the 4 people, and then floated to one side, followed by a few people in black clothes. Are you here to challenge our gym? A tall woman with a pale face came towards them, stood in front of the 4 people, and asked. Yes. Zhang Xingyun came out and replied. Okay, follow me. The woman led the 4 people and walked in. Passing by a long corridor, there were portraits of elves hanging on both sides of the corridor. When the few people walked by, the portraits moved slightly, and the elves in the portraits moved with their scholar eyes, grinning at the few people. Hiss. Woo woo woo. Seeing that the 4 people did not react, the ghost type elves were not interested either. They wanted to scare them a few times. Those kids have no ill intentions, they are just a little naughty. The woman walking in front heard the noise and explained. Yeah, I understand. I also bred a haunter, and it is also very naughty. Yeah, haunter is like this. Elves like haunter often play pranks. In the middle of the night, they will make ghost faces to scare people. Hearing that Zhang Xingyun also bred a haunter, the woman talked more. Along the way, Zhang Xingyun found that the gym was very quiet. There were not many gym apprentices, and even fewer staff. Soon, the 4 people registered their information, and were taken to a battlefield. There are so few people here. The 4 of them found a place to sit down. After looking around, they found that there were not many people watching on the field, only about 20 people. Compared with the previous gyms, there were indeed fewer people. Maybe it's because this is a ghost gym. It's gloomy and ordinary people don't want to come. Zhang Xingyun replied with a smile. The 4 of them are all capable people, so they will naturally not be scared by those ghosts and elves, but it's hard to say for ordinary people. Judging from the naughty behavior of those elves, if there are people, they will also scare them. Zhang Xingyun looked up and saw a battle going on the field. A two-tay turtle was trapped in heavy black fog. Woo woo woo. In the black fog, there were many ghosts, and a red light flashed. It was a night black demon who suddenly appeared in front of the two-tay turtle and punched out. Roar. The two-tay turtle roared and immediately launched a defense. Bang. The two-tay turtle was hit and retreated a distance. Suddenly it felt a chill on its back, and the night black demon suddenly appeared behind it. The night black demon's red eyes flashed, and the two-tay tortoise was horrified to find that it could not move. A phantom suddenly appeared in front of it. After the phantom passed by, 1 or 2 seconds later, the two-tay tortoise suddenly fell to the ground, with circles in its eyes, and it had lost its ability to fight. The two-tay tortoise has lost its ability to fight. The referee on the stage raised a small flag in his hand and said loudly. The two-tay tortoise's trainer picked up the Pokeball and took the two-tay tortoise back. It lacks willpower, and this aspect needs to be strengthened. A cold voice sounded, concise and to the point. It was the gym trainer who was speaking. Thank you for your guidance. The two-tay tortoise's trainer thanked him and then retreated. The next challenger is Mr. Zhang Xingyun. Please ask Mr. Zhang Xingyun to arrive at the battlefield within 15 minutes. After hearing the voice, Zhang Xingyun stood up. He didn't expect it to be his turn so soon this time. He thought he would have to wait for a while. A person with special abilities? Mo Yanai looked over and felt a strong breath from Zhang Xingyun. Hello, trainer. Please choose a challenge mode. There are 1-on-1, 3-on-3, 6-on-6, and group battle challenge modes. Which one do you choose? Mo Yanai said. I choose 3-on-3. Zhang Xingyun made a decision immediately and chose the usual 3-on-3 challenge mode. Okay. After some preparation, Mo Yanai released a Jenga. Judging from the aura it exuded, it was a peak mid-elite Pokémon. Jenga, that's you, Haunter. Fight your evolved form in advance. Zhang Xingyun picked up the Pokeball and released Haunter. Hiss. A red light flashed, and Haunter appeared on the field. Chapter 622 Haunter vs Jenga. Flashing Haunter? That's rare. A strength at the early stage of elite, defeating the strong with the weak. Mo Yanai was slightly surprised when he saw Haunter coming out. That's not the case. As soon as he finished speaking, a spirit attaching spell was attached to Haunter, and Haunter's aura rose steadily, rising from the early stage of elite to the late stage of elite before stopping. A special ability user? I can also increase it. A black light lit up, and Jenga in front of Moyanai cheered comfortably, and his aura also rose rapidly, and then stopped at the peak of the late stage of elite. His Jenga looked at Haunter with a pair of red eyes with ill intentions. His Haunter glared at him, his momentum not diminished. You are the challenger, you go first. Then I won't be polite. His Haunter suddenly disappeared from the spot, and the next moment a dark shadow appeared under Jenga, and an evil wave containing evil energy lingered on Haunter, and then attacked Jenga. Bang Haunter, continue, shadow ball attack. His Haunter hissed, and 6 or 7 shadow balls condensed on his body, and simultaneously blasted towards the smoke and dust. It's our turn to fight back, Jenga shadow punch. Several dark giant fists suddenly appeared under Haunter, and they all blasted towards Haunter. Puff Haunter on the field was hit by shadow punch and turned into a stream of gas, and another Haunter appeared on the side. When Haunter just appeared, a dark shadow quickly passed by, and then several dark and gloomy ghost claws grabbed it. His Haunter did not retreat, and used shadow punch to meet it. Boom boom boom. After several exchanges, Haunter was repelled and fell into a disadvantage, but he still had the strength to fight back. His Jenga smiled at it cunningly, and his fat body jumped on the side, as if mocking Haunter, and did not continue to attack. No. Zhang Xingyun felt something was wrong when he looked at the field. It was intuitive. The next moment, another Jenga floated out from under Haunter. His Haunter was also startled and rushed to attack. In a hurry, he suffered a few losses. The jumping Jenga suddenly turned into nothingness. Is this a stand? It's so real, but why didn't I notice it? Zhang Xingyun looked at the situation on the field, a little puzzled, but saw Moyanai's eyes on the opposite side, and there was a faint flash of energy on the field. Battles are not just about Pokémon, but also trainers. Mo Yanling looked over, with a pair of deep eyes staring at him. This is... Zhang Xingyun was slightly startled, and the scene in front of him suddenly changed. A dozen ghosts appeared in front of him, looking at him with bloodshot eyes, and pretending to rush forward. No, this is an illusion. Zhang Xingyun was certain in his heart, and the energy on his body moved slightly. The scene in front of him changed, and it was still on the training ground. Not bad. It's less than a second before she broke free. Mo Yanling said with admiration on her face. Zhang Xingyun looked at her, his face also slightly solemn. He didn't expect that she was also a supernatural person of the king level. He was not careful for a moment, and fell into an illusion. This person is not simple. More than 10 figures of Jenga appeared on the field. They were not shadow clones, because they had life breath on them, and the breath was roughly the same. When he was about to see which one of the Jenga's real bodies was, a sudden force suddenly interrupted his exploration. Is it a unique skill? From the looks of it, it seems to be developed based on the stand. Zhang Xingyun murmured, and his mental power moved, and fought with it. Facing a dozen Jengas, Haunter was a little at a loss for a while. Puff Haunter made several moves in a row, and the Jengas he attacked turned into nothingness. A shadow punch appeared in Haunter's eyes, which was very powerful. It was done by Jenga's real body. Bang. Haunter disappeared from its original position, and the next moment Haunter appeared behind Jenga and grabbed it. Jenga also reacted, and quickly launched a counterattack. Haunter's teleportation just now was naturally done by Zhang Xingyun. There was not only a battle between 2 Pokémons on the field, but also 2 trainers were competing secretly. After a competition, Zhang Xingyun found that the mental power emitted by the other party was roughly the same as hers. As she improved, she also improved, but as long as she kept her mind, the other party could not confuse her. Okay, I haven't met such an excellent trainer for a long time. Mo Yanling nodded secretly. Her assessment method was different from that of other gyms. She would conduct corresponding assessments on trainers, and the objects of assessment were not only Pokémons. But what surprised her was that the boy opposite was actually a level 1 heavenly king. No wonder Yuchen said that the Ghost Gym's assessment is very difficult. Few trainers can get the Ghost Gym's badge. It's really difficult. Zhang Xingyun thought to himself. This Ghost Gym is different from other gyms. It actually targets trainers. No wonder the pass rate is so low. However, Zhang Xingyun still agrees with this method. At least here, at most you can't get a badge. If you encounter an attack by a ghost Pokémon in the wild, you may die. The battle between the two Pokémons on the field is also tense. Although Haunter is slightly inferior in strength, it can still fight back and forth with Jenga. During the battle, Zhang Xingyun also saw many unique moves on Jenga. This is also the feature cultivated by the Ghost Gym. His the two Pokémons on the field are entangled together. There are wisps of black lines around Jenga. It is the same fate move of Haunter. Then a huge shadow ball appears between the two Pokémons on the field and explodes. Both Pokémons are blown up and float to the side. His Haunter smiled and looked at Jenga for a few times. Then his body froze and he lost consciousness. After he fell, the Jenga on the opposite side also fell down in a few seconds and lost his ability to fight. The referee on the field announced the result of the battle in a timely manner. After Zhang Xingyun took Haunter back, he released the big metal monster. Originally, he wanted to let the forest lizard appear, but after thinking for a while, it was better to let the metal monster appear. For the current one, a crystal lamp fire spirit was sent, which slightly restrained the metal monster in terms of attributes. The strength is not low, it is the strength of the early stage of the Quasi-King, while the metal monster is still the peak of the late elite, but the difference is not much. After the metal monster was amplified by the spirit attachment technique, its strength reached the peak of the middle stage of the Quasi-King, and the crystal lamp fire spirit on the opposite side also reached the level of the middle stage of the Quasi-King with her amplification. In terms of strength, the metal monster has a slight advantage. Chapter 623 Everyone gets a badge. Boom, a wave of air burst out between the metal monster and the crystal lamp fire spirit, and the two figures both retreated. Dang, after the metal monster stopped and appeared, the next moment he appeared behind the crystal lamp fire spirit. His fist burst into starlight and blasted over. Puff, as expected, the crystal in front of him was a substitute. Dang, the metal monster raised his arms and fired a shiny electric cannon in a direction where the crystal lamp fire spirit was. Crystal lamp fire spirit, mysterious protection. Woo, bang, the metal monster's shiny electric cannon was stopped. Dang, the metal monster's figure disappeared from the spot again, and the next moment he appeared behind the crystal lamp fire spirit, and another comet fist was blasted out with all his strength. Flame vortex. Woo, the crystal lamp fire spirit rolled on the spot, and a dark blue flame vortex appeared on the field, covering it and the metal monster. Bang, on the battlefield, an explosion sounded, raising a large cloud of smoke and dust, enveloping both of them. Bang, 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 the sound of fighting came from the smoke and dust, and the two inside were still fighting in the smoke and dust. Swish, a dazzling light lit up, and then the crystal lamp fire spirit was thrown out of the smoke and dust, and fell to the ground. Before it could get up, the metal monster attacked again. Bang, 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 after another 10 rounds, the crystal lamp fire spirit lost consciousness under the comet punch of the metal monster. The crystal lamp fire spirit loses its ability to fight, and the metal monster wins. The referee raised the flag in his hand and announced. Mo Yanai didn't say anything, picked up the Pokeball, took back the crystal lamp fire spirit, and then released a soul-catching eye, whose strength was the middle stage of the Quasi-King. Zhang Xingyun didn't take the metal monster back, letting it continue to fight. After the first game, in the next battle of the metal monster, Mo Yanling's intervention was much lighter. After a fierce battle between the soul-catching eye and the metal monster on the field, the metal monster still won this game. Congratulations, you passed the assessment of the Chang'an Ghost Gym, and this ghost badge is given to you. Mo Yanai walked over, and a purple badge floated on his body, and floated towards him. Thank you. Zhang Xingyun thanked him, and put the badge away. No need, your performance is very good, and I don't have any good advice. Come on, I wish you a good result in the competition. Mo Yanai smiled, and said to him, I will work hard. After the two shook hands, Zhang Xingyun walked off the battlefield. Come on, Meng Meng, it's your turn next. Nangang Yeo and the others cheered her up. But I think it's too difficult. I don't think I can beat the mid-stage Quasi-King. Z Meng Meng sighed. You have to keep your mind, and don't be confused, or fall into an illusion. The assessment method of this ghost gym is different from other gyms. Zhang Xingyun rushed to the seat and reminded her. You were hallucinating just now. Yes, so you should be careful. Ah, then I have even less hope. Zhang slightly chubby face instantly wrinkled into a bitter face, and she had even less confidence in the next battle. Not necessarily, she may be based on your approximate strength, there is still a chance, come on. At this time, she was caught, and with the cheers of the three people, Zhang walked onto the battlefield. Hey, why are they chatting and laughing? Zhang Xingyun looked at the battlefield and saw Zhang and Mo Yanai talking and laughing, and they seemed to be having a good time. Do they know each other? Zhang Xingyun asked in confusion. I don't know, I'll know when I come back. Yes. Soon the battle on the field began. Zhang's first elf was a late elite demon Fire Red Fox. On the other side, she sent a dream demon, whose strength was almost the same as the demon Fire Red Fox, and was also in the late elite stage. The two sides fought fiercely on the field, back and forth. 30 rounds passed, and the two elves were still fighting on the field, evenly matched. Although Zhang said she had no confidence, when she came on the field, she played fairly steadily, and did not make any mistakes. She commanded the demon Fire Red Fox, and became more and more courageous. Gradually, the situation stabilized. After more than 10 rounds, the demon Fire Red Fox defeated its opponent, the Dream Demon, and won the first game. Mo Yanai sent out the second elf, an elite late peak elf, and after some effort, defeated the demon Fire Red Fox. Zhang sent out her Picossi, and after a fierce battle, Picossi won. During the battle, Mo Yanling did not use any amplification spells, probably because Zhang did not use them either. In this case, it should not be difficult for Meng to obtain the badge, and the gym lady is not so strict. It may also be that Meng's diplomacy played a role. Looking at the battle on the field, Long Zhao said lightly, maybe, this is naturally the best. Zhang Xingyun nodded and said. Soon the battle on the field ended, and Zhang won. I didn't expect Miss Yan Yi to be Yan Ling's sister. After returning to her seat, Zhang laughed. Mo Yanling. Zhang Xingyun remembered that he had defeated the girl named Mo Yanling in the quarterfinals of the Magic City Freshman Tournament. Miss Yan Yi is so nice. Seeing that I was nervous, she comforted me and told me not to be nervous. She also chatted with me. I found out that she was Yan Ling's sister. Zhang continued to talk and told the three people what happened just now. No wonder she made your assessment much easier. Hey, you can't say that. I also passed it by relying on my strength. Zhang was unhappy when she heard Zhang Xingyun say that and immediately retorted. I didn't say that you didn't pass it by relying on your strength. I just said that the difficulty of her assessment was reduced. Zhang Xingyun explained. Well, that's more like it. Zhang puffed out her chest, a little proud. Although that's what she said, Zhang's performance in the battle just now was acceptable. Mo Yanai's test difficulty was reduced a bit, but it was still on the passing line, and there was no cheating or anything like that. Sister Yanai is just a little strict. Generally speaking, those who are good enough will be given badges. The broadcast on the field sounded again, and it was Nangang Yao's turn to go on stage. After Nangang Yao went up, she came back 10 minutes later with a badge in her hand. Then Long Zhao also went up, and after 10 minutes, she came down with the badge of the Ghost Gym in her hand. The four of them got the badges, which attracted the attention of the people around them. All four of them got the badges. Chapter 624 Kidnapping. In that case, her assessment of me is the most difficult. Zhang Xingyun said with a chuckle. After the four challenged the Ghost Gym, they came to a high-end restaurant and had lunch. I don't know. Anyway, Sister Yan Yi's assessment of me is not low. Zhang replied, while eating the soup in front of her. Zhang Xingyun smiled and said nothing, and started eating. Now we are also challenging the Ghost Gym, and the next stop is Xinjiang. Nangang Yao said. I checked. The recent Xinjiang gym is very full, and we can only make an appointment in 5 days. Long Zhao, who was next to him, put down his phone and said, oh, then we can go around and play. I looked at a few travel guides, and there are still many fun places in Shanghai. Hearing this, Zhang interrupted the topic. Well, what is the reservation situation of the Cheyenne Fu Gym and the Cheyenne Gym? Zhang Xingyun thought for a while and asked. It's about the same. Long Zero looked at her phone again and replied. Zhang Xingyun nodded and said nothing. Let's go for a walk in the afternoon. It's not good to train elves all the time. We should combine work and rest. Nangang Yeo looked over and suggested. Okay. Zhang Xingyun agreed with a smile. Then he would take a day off today and give himself and the elves a break. That's right. It's necessary to relax more. Because of your involution, I have also been influenced by you. The amount of training has increased a lot. Hahaha, you can't do much more. How could it be? The four of them talked and laughed and ended this lunch. In the afternoon, the four of them came to many famous scenic spots in Chang'an City to take pictures and check in and appreciate the local customs and habits of Chang'an. I'll edit it first and post it on WeChat moments later. The four of them had just walked down the wall of Chang'an. Meng lowered her head and edited the photo she took today with her mobile phone. Two somewhat embarrassed figures ran quickly. Zhang Xingyun sensed them at the first time. When he looked up, he found that they were two roommates. Xingyun, am I seeing things? Ahem. How did you two become like this? Zhang Xingyun looked at the two people in front of him with some confusion. The two people in front of him were Lan Yachun and Kan Ziaming, but now they looked very embarrassed. Their combat uniforms were tattered and dusty. If Zhang Xingyun was not very familiar with them, he would not have dared to recognize them. Xingyun. Quick, let's go and rescue Lao Jian and the others first. We are under attack. Ahem. Lan Yachun said anxiously, holding Zhang Xingyun with one arm, looking very anxious. What do you mean? What's the situation? Zhang Xingyun asked with a frown. Wait a minute. Xingyun will borrow some money from you first. Yachun, let's send the elves to the hospital. It will be bad if it's too late. Yes, send them to the hospital first, but we can't just watch old Jian die. Seeing Lan Yachun like this, Zhang Xingyun said, Joa, help Xiaoming go to the hospital. Yachun, let Xiaoming take the elves first, and you and I will go to save Jian Wenchen first. Yes, that makes sense. Lan Yachun nodded, quickly handed his elves to Kan Xiaoming, and got into Zhang Xingyun's car. Meng Zhao, you take him to the hospital first, I'll go too. Nangang Yeo said, and then got into the car. Boom, the car's engine sounded, and it drove away. It soon went out of the city gate and drove for a distance. The car and the cart teleported and disappeared from the ground. The three people appeared in the sky. Zhang Xingyun and Lan Yachun rode on Super Pidgeot, while Nangang Yeo rode on Dragonite's back and quickly ran to the place Lan Yachun said. Deep in the fantasy moon forest southeast of Chang'an, Jian Wenchen and a young man were tied up and fell to the ground. They looked at the people in front of them with horror, and they were whimpering. In front of him, a burly man with several scars on his face was holding a bloody corpse in his hand and throwing it to the ground. The corpse fell to the ground with a muffled sound. This kid is a poor guy and has no value. It's okay to kill him. There is no need to waste food. The burly man wiped his hands and said calmly, as for the two of you, cooperate with us well, maybe you will be safe. If you don't cooperate. The burly man turned around and looked down at Jian Wenchen and the two on the ground in a teasing manner. Woo Welise, see what he has to say. Okay, boss. A thin young man with a yellowish face squatted down and pulled down the rag covering Jian Wenchen. Don't kill me, I'm from the Pengcheng Jian family. Jian Wenchen said in a hurried tone, fearing that he would be tortured to death and become a cold corpse. Woo, I'm from the Chen family in Yonggang. You can ask for money or resources, just tell me, don't kill me. Another person also hurriedly followed suit, also afraid of being tortured to death on the spot. Hahaha, these students are like this, they are afraid of blood, hahaha. Yeah, they are all little fat pigs, with a lot of resources on them, hahaha. College students, how does it feel to be chivalrous? Don't you know how deep the water is? And you are a hero saving a beauty. It's still Sister Khan's acting skills, otherwise these people wouldn't be fooled. Of course, hey Ozzy, you have made a great contribution. The 6 people surrounding Jian Wenchen and the other person on the field all laughed and ridiculed them. I know you have a good family background, otherwise, you would be like your partner. The tall and thin young man called Wei patted Zhang Wenchen and the other man on the face, pointing to the corpse with its eyes wide open. It's a pity that the two piglets were smart and reacted quickly, otherwise, our profit today could have been multiplied several times. What a pity. Another young man shook his head and said with a rather regretful tone. Speaking of this, Brother King, it's still a bit troublesome that the two students ran away. Why don't we just forget about it and kill them? Let's go to another place. A gentle looking young man with gold rimmed glasses next to the burly man suggested. Oh, Four Eyes, you are too cautious. You don't have to be so cautious. Didn't you hear what this guy said? They are top students from the Magic City University who came from afar, not from Chang'an. Even if they go to Chang'an, they are unfamiliar with the place. What can they do? Call the police? Or what? Another person jumped out and objected to what the man called Four Eyes said. I like college students like you the most. You have a lot of resources and your fighting style is old-fashioned. Aren't you the boy who brings wealth? Chapter 625 Mysterious Stone. Okay, Leohei, there are still some powerful college students. You were careless last time and almost capsized. If it weren't for Brother King's timely rescue, you would have died. It was an accident. The two people on the ground were timid. Facing the ridicule and taunting of several people, they did not dare to talk back, for fear of being killed on the spot. On the other side, Zhang Xingyun and the other two were in a corner of a ruin. Looking around, they could see that a fierce battle had just taken place here. The battle here has subsided for a while. The three of them are probably caught or Zhang Xingyun landed on the ground, releasing his mental power to explore the surrounding scene. It's all my fault. I shouldn't trust others casually and shouldn't meddle in other people's business in the wild. Lan Yuchen slapped himself on the mouth and said with regret. He and Zhang Wenchen met a student named Yuan Hao on the road. They had a good chat and shared similar interests. Several people explored together and gained a lot. During one of the expeditions, Yuan Hao stepped forward because several people were injured and gained the trust of Lan Yuchen and others. After they came to Chang'an, they received a well-paid task under his introduction. The task was to take the essence of flowers and leaves and a batch of other treasures in the forest. After entering the forest, they encountered several boys chasing a tall and charming woman. Seeing this, several people, under his instigation, rescued the woman and repelled the gangsters. Unexpectedly, they were all actors. After several people repelled the gangsters, the woman and the new friend Yuan Hao attacked together and caught them off guard. Then a team of people rushed out of the forest. In the end, it looked like this. Eat a setback, learn a lesson. We don't know whether it is a human or a ghost in the wild. Here, people may be more terrible than elves. Zhang Xingyun comforted, looking carefully at the scene to see if he could find some clues. Woof Nangan Yao's ardent sniffed and shook his head, indicating that it didn't find anything. You said there are 2 king level trainers on the opposite side, with a total of 4 king level Pokémon? Zhang Xingyun asked. Well, but that's all I saw. I don't know if they are hiding or not. Lan Yuchen said uncertainly. Is Xingyun sure? If not, then Gardevoir seemed to have discovered something and pointed in a direction. Of course I'm sure. Hello, is this Mr. Jian? Yes, I am. May I ask who you are? A puzzled male voice came from the communicator in Yanking's hand. Who I'm is not important. I have a business to discuss with you now. Business? What business? Dad, it's me. Woo. It's this business, Mr. Jian. Yanking moved the communicator away and said to the communicator with a smile. Wenchen, how are you? An anxious voice came from the communicator. The young master is fine for now. How about Mr. Jian? Do you want to talk about this business? Yes, I will. Haha, I like to talk business with people like you who are straightforward. I also advise you not to try to find external help. Another thing is that we are in the Chang'an area, but our location changes at random. I know, just say it. I only have one request, to ensure his safety. Of course. It's him, the one wearing a yellow coat, the dog thief Yuan Hao. Lan Yuchen said excitedly on telepathy. The three of them hid in a dark place, and a light blue shield covered the three of them, covering up their breath. Well, stay calm. Zhang Xingyun replied, and a mental force obscurely explored over and found several elves hiding in the dark. Their strength was not strong, only at the level of the middle and early stages of the qua seeking. 6 people, 2 of them have strong but restrained auras. They should be the 2 top trainers. The one on the phone is stronger. A red light flashed, and an alakazam appeared on the scene, his eyes glowing, as if he had discovered something. Seeing this, the 6 people immediately became alert. Hurry up and keep an eye on the hostages. Where are the people? Not good. There are masters on the other side. Nido Hassan the bound Nidoking, and Mega Mantis suddenly appeared on the field. Alakazam just made a move, but was interrupted by Zhang Xingyun. He was being fired at by Nidoking and Mantis, and flew to the side in a parabola. With a snap, he fell to the ground, and lost consciousness instantly. Enemy attack, enemy attack. A shadow moved under the feet of Nidoking and Mantis, and just when a pair of scarlet eyes appeared, it was facing a foot of Nidoking. Pong, pong, pong banji wuabi. The electric beasts came out of the Pokeballs one after another, and with the help of Zhang Xingyun's teleportation, they surrounded the field and blocked their retreat. The 6 people gathered together and released Pokémon beside them. After the sudden attack just now, they reacted. Gilu, have we hit a wall? 8 king level Pokémon. I don't know if Brother King and Haozi can handle it. I don't know. On the field, 3 king level Pokémon stood in front of Yanking, 1 early king level Crossbit, 1 mid-level king level Swampert, and 1 mid-level king level Magneto. In front of another person, there was also an early king level Jenga and an early king level Psychic Doll. 5 king level Pokémon and more than 20 quasi king level Pokémon protected the 6 people on the inside and confronted Nidoking and the others. Go. Zhang Xingyun gave the order directly and ordered Nidoking and the others to rush forward. Boom, a huge mushroom cloud rose up and the area of several kilometers was instantly reduced to ruins. Zizizia dazzling lightning appeared on the field, carrying several people and soaring into the sky. Hey boo, the same lightning flashed and the electric shock monster covered with layers of lightning rushed forward. Hey boo, the electric shock monster made an incredible cry and its thunder was sucked over and became its helper. It turned around and was shot down by the electric shock monster and was caught by the rushing Pidgeot. What's going on? This scene also attracted Zhang Xingyun's attention. Looking over there, he soon found that it was caused by a yellow stone the size of an apple. It was the yellow stone carried by Magneto, which was glowing faintly. The lightning power around it became more and more violent, sizzling, but fortunately it had not lost control. The energy contained was no less than the full force of the late Heavenly King. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.